Hello again, and welcome to the Master's Voice. I am Celestial, and you are welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you're very welcome. I have no messages for today. I have no announcements for today. This prophecy that I have it's complex, and yet I pray the Lord will help me to make it simple. It has a lot of different aspects in it, and I pray that the Holy Spirit will help me to not leave any single part of it out, because I feel that there is an urgency in this message. And I once again thank the Lord that in all this that He has given me, He hasn't given me a spirit of hysteria. He hasn't given me a spirit of always wanting to make things sound sensationalized. It's my heartfelt desire that the people that God has led here, if you believe that the Holy Spirit is the reason that you found this channel, it is my heartfelt desire that you will become the kind of person who is fortified by these messages. This is a judgment prophecy channel, and so you cannot come here, even if it is your first video, you cannot come here expecting that even if you hear something difficult, then there has to be something edifying at the end. This is not the movies where you are guaranteed, or you think that somebody owes you a happy ending because you paid your money. Neither is this content. This channel doesn't exist to be a place that people come and say, oh, this is such an interesting creator and she has such interesting content. This is a place where we are coming to the understanding step by step, day by day, prophecy by prophecy, that there is a living God in our midst, that Jesus Christ is not a myth, and that God is not a convenient handle or a convenient cop-out for so-called lazy people, as the world likes to see Christians, like to think that Christians are lazy and that Christians don't want to actually face reality, and this is why they need the concept of a God. A lot of people outside of Christianity don't understand actually that Christianity is one of the most demanding and taxing things that a person can ever do, simply because Christianity is completely opposed to the system of the world, to how society runs, to how society operates, to societal mores, which always says things like, look after you, put yourself first. Christianity is not just a concept religion. It is an actual living faith with a heavenly Father, with a Savior at the core of it. And so it's very necessary, even if this is your first Master's Voice video, it is necessary for you to always know that as you listen to these prophecies, the person who might be confused is you. It is not me. The person who might be a couple of thousand loops behind the curve of where I am now in my 7th year of prophesying God's words publicly is you. That means the things that you're wondering about, you're going to have to wonder about them in the privacy of your bedroom and not interrupt the flow of what is going on here. There's a lot of people who are coming here deliberately to annoy me and insult me. And I keep saying that the book of Nehemiah has a message for you, because when God commissioned Nehemiah to do the important work of building the wall, and Sanballat and Tobias and all the other people that they kept hiring to be an annoyance, to be a nuisance and everything like that, Nehemiah instructed his soldiers. He gave them a particular message, shall we say, to tell them this is how we're going to go forward building the wall. And I myself, I am a proponent of that method of going forth in my building. So if you come here and you are full of the beliefs of the world, or you're full of the beliefs of how you've been reading your Bible, I want you to know that I'm not interested in that. I'm in the process of doing something for Jesus Christ here, because the Lord told me to prepare for Him a people fit to meet Him. That means that I am the steward here, looking among those who come to see who's picking up the material on their pathway to becoming fit, and who's just mucking about and playing about and thinking that this is a place to do 21 questions. It is not. You're either going to listen, especially with the times that we are in and going into, or you're going to get sharply and steeply removed, exited from this place, or you're simply going to fall behind. So that's all I will say. This prophecy has some triggering elements, and it is well known here that I'm not going to gloss over anything for anyone's comfort. This prophecy definitely has some triggering elements, and when I was thinking about it, thinking how to present that, not how to present the material, but how to actually say that, I realized that this is not one of those that's going to be particularly difficult for you because you're a woman, or particularly difficult for you perhaps because you are a woman who has suffered abuse or things like that. This is going to be hard for you if you are a red-blooded male who has a wife or female children. This is going to be hard for you if you are a red-blooded male who may not have a wife, may not have female children. You may be estranged from your mom and you may have no sister, meaning that you think yourself, oh, I'm just a man. It's going to be hard for guys nonetheless, especially if you are an American man, because you are going to be hearing that the era we have come to is not a joke. I cannot stress enough to the American people at this time that what you are looking at is not a practice run. It is not something that is going to go away if you keep hoping against hope for someone to have a stroke so that you can have a different president. It's not going to go away if you think that if you tough it out for now and the next 3 years, then you can go into another election cycle, or you can at least try to change the House, or you can try to change the Senate, or you can try and change something if we come to the midterms in 2026. It is not going to be like that. You are in the actual grinding of the wheels that I've been talking about here for the last 4 to 5 years. It is not a joke. It is not a practice run. So it's either you will start taking steps, especially those of you who already know the steps. Maybe because you already went to war. Maybe because you studied World War II better than anyone else. Maybe you lived in the aftermath of World War II. So you have that wealth of knowledge available to you. And it is really time that you share that knowledge. You are welcome to use the comment section to share the knowledge of what those times were like and what people found best to keep themselves safe. America is devolving into a disturbing mix of people who are very inaccurately gauging the time. They are misgauging the times that we are in so badly, both the red side and the so-called blue side. I am sick of seeing liberals sitting with their, one window here and one window here, and they're having a 2-man podcast or 4 windows, sitting and discussing what I can only call ideals and concepts, and saying, well, what do you think is the reason for what's happening in our country? And we're in a constitutional crisis. Of course, we're in a constitutional crisis. I told you one day America would be absolutely under attack, because America is the last country that is acting as a preventative against the beast system. And I don't say that for Americans to be proud. It's not as if America is consciously acting as a preventative to the beast system. The only reason that America is an existing impediment to the coming of the beast system is because America is the last country on earth that freely has and protects guns. The gun owners in America don't actually understand how important the ownership of the gun is. They think that the ownership of the gun is because, the Second Amendment says so and all that. That is not the core importance of this country having guns. This country having guns makes it the last so-called relic on earth that still is overrun with firearms in the hands of every single Joe Schmo that wants one. No matter how legislated it is in so-called democratic states as opposed to red states that have very much more open laws allowing you to have a gun. It doesn't matter about whether some areas have a preponderance of guns, more guns, and some areas have less guns. What is important is that America is the last country on earth that sees it as part of the framework of being a citizen of the country to have access to guns. This is the thing that the architects of the New World Order have been really working on getting rid of. That is the one stumbling block that they have found themselves kicking against year after year, because the right to own a firearm is protected in the Constitution. The only way that these people were ever going to be able to get at the Second Amendment is not to go after it directly. They would have to go after all of the tenets of the Constitution at the same time, working as if, oh, the Second Amendment isn't really what we're pointing to. We're just working against all of them. That's the only way that the Second Amendment is going to fall. If it falls as part of right of assembly, right to congregate, free speech, free press, all of that, that is the only way to get Amendment 2 to fall. You have to break all of them. So it just looks as if you're breaking and ignoring the whole thing. But at the core of this, because the beast system has to rise, the beast system cannot rise in a nation that knows, even if it doesn't know math, even if it doesn't know science, even if it doesn't know public policy, it definitely knows across the board that it has the right to form a well-armed militia as a means of containing a state that goes rogue. This government is not in the process of playing. This is not a dry run. If you don't understand that, and you're on the liberal side and you keep getting caught up in academic discussions of we're in a constitutional crisis, and then you're using all your big words like regime and all this and oligarchs, it's not going to help you. Likewise, on the Republican side, Republicans are well known for supporting certain ideals. And so at this moment, Republicans, who sometimes are, a lot of them are part of the Christian nationalist movement, the Christian Zionist movement, and that gives them a very racist core. They do like to see people who don't look like them in distress and in trouble. And so you will have grown and crusted over adults repeating the tropes that they hear on Fox News, telling them that this nation, this country is not a country like any other country. This country is an amalgam of very many cultures all living in the same place. But not only that, America is as big as a hog. America is one of the biggest countries in the world when it comes to land mass. She's surpassed only by China and Russia, and I think India. She's the only Western country that I know of covering this much of a landmass, and yet Fox News is telling a certain type of brain that America is overrun with Islamic jihadists and cartels. You've been living for the last 365 days. I'm counting all of 2024. When did you last see an Islamic jihadist on your way to the store? When did you last see a cartel member on your way to yoga? You haven't seen that. And the reason you haven't seen that is because there's no such preponderance of these people in the country. But these people are a relic from the past. I'm talking about this certain type of brain who continues to believe, like little children who can't open their eyes and pay attention to what's going on. They continue to believe because the TV is telling them and throwing out chum. Chum is like when you cut up fish or meats and make it bloody and then throw it into the water because you want to attract the bigger fish, especially sharks. When you want to shoot sharks and other things like that, when you want to fish big fish, you get bloody baits and then you throw it into the water because they come in a feeding frenzy, and then you can grab a lot of them. So certain propaganda sources that these people on the right listen to keep telling them that they're under attack from Black people, they're under attack from Hispanics, they're under attack in their whiteness, they're under attack by Tren de Aragua and things like that. They live their daily lives. They do everything that they do in a normal day, in a normal week, in a normal month, in a normal year. They have never seen a jihadist and they have never seen a gang member. But because the TV is telling them that America is awash with gang members, so they want to believe that, and they want to believe that America is so under siege. Please hear the language that I'm using. They believe that America is a war zone against the others. And so these people who don't always tend to be the brightest, right? You ask them where their copy of the Constitution is, they don't know because they barely made it out of 5th grade. Some of them graduated, but there's absolutely nothing working in their head higher than their racial bias, their deep love for white Jesus and whatever it is that is motivating them. They continue to believe on that side of the aisle that America is at the precipice of destruction because of a massive immigration crisis. And therefore, the only way that we can fix that is to have Apache helicopters hanging over Brooklyn neighborhoods for 3 hours, as once happened right here in Brooklyn. We have to have tanks in the street. We have to have the boys in green and camo in the street. They have to rappel down from helicopters. These people are willing to put up with all of this. This is the Patriot Act crowd. These are the people who were so willing to hand over massive chunks of their freedom after the fake 9/11 event that happened. These were the ones who were hungry for war, to make other people pay. You say Osama did something and then you go and bomb another country that had nothing to do with it. And they are not bright enough to know that Afghanistan is not Iraq. You say Afghanistani leader did it and then you go and destroy Iraq, right? They don't see the problem with that. This beast state will utilize the ignorance on the right, and the pontification on the left. To pontificate means to just sit and talk airy arguments that do nothing. You just sit and invite, she's an expert chair on Nazi studies. Then she comes and then it's a 1-hour podcast. And then you read the comments of the liberals and it's all like, my eyes are open. I fully understood now how the brown shirts took power. Okay, you understood how the brown shirts took power. And now what? And now what? Because Yah is now telling me that the ICE forces we see are America's brown shirts. And God says that these people are not playing. There's some who are willing to give up massive chunks of freedom, and they're willing to turn a blind eye. And the reason they're willing to do that is because they think that the racist regime that is in power right now will only hurt people who look like me and who look like Jose. But Jesus Christ has something for you, those people today. And while I take no pleasure in it, I cannot help but marvel at the way God presents things. I want you to understand that you will never be smarter than God. I'm talking about all across the board. I'm talking to Christian. I'm talking to non-Christian. I'm talking to whether you call yourself alt-right, far-right, off the board, alt-left. I don't even know if there's such a thing as an alt-left or a far-left or a leftist or a progressive. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. In America today, I want to let you know that God will outfox you. Because what Yah showed me today, I already put a snippet of it up on my page to let people know what exactly is coming. I am not going to hold anything back here. This is a series of at least 6 or 7 dreams, but there is one that is definitely, 2 of them actually, that are the central core. But I'm going to give everything that I experienced since I went to lay back last night, because even some of the things that I saw last night, I know that there will be a nugget or 2 in it for people who are looking to deepen their relationship with Jesus Christ. It's going to be a long video. If you're interested, you can lock in. If not, you can go over to the podcast and listen at your leisure. The title of the prophecy is The Wolves Are Here, an occupying force in America. And the date is October the 11th. We just crossed over into October 12th now. We're just 8 minutes into the new day, Sunday. But this dream, all these dreams are Saturday, October the 11th, 2025. The wolves are here, an occupying force in America. So I start with what I wrote in my journal. From last night and early this morning, and even in the afternoon, I've had a series of disturbing dreams that have made it hard for me to get good rest. Especially the dream that I had, the one about ICE, made me so very tense and afraid. And I became very aware of the differences that exist between men and women, the imbalances that exist between the strong and the weak. And I could not really find any kind of comfortable, refreshing sleep, even when I went back to bed. I also had a dream about war and other things towards the morning. But then in this afternoon, I've dreamt about ICE and just how far they will progress in breaking the boundaries of the laws that are supposed to contain and control them and make them function as legal operatives in the United States. And so last night I went to bed. I said my prayers, I spoke with the Lord, and then I lay down just the way you normally lay down to go to sleep. I was not sleeping, so I wasn't drifting. You literally lie in bed and you pray, and then you lie down and you're talking to the Lord, and you're just talking, and then you close your eyes now because you're ready to sleep. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I found myself standing in front of a house. So there was a house in front of me about 2 or 3 stories tall, but it's the kind of house that's a house, and at the same time it's a duplex or it's an apartment. And there was a very lively party going on in that building, and apparently I was arriving there as a guest or invited or whatever, with friends or not. I couldn't see myself. All I could see was my arms in this dream, that perspective where you can see your own hands, and that's how you know you are somewhere. So I saw this building in front of me, and the building was faint just behind my eyelids, and I wondered, why am I seeing a building? I wonder if this is an imprint of our building outside or something. And I opened my eyes and I was back in my room. I closed my eyes again and I'm back at this house, except that now I've entered into the house. I am not sleeping. I've entered into the house and I'm on the ground floor, and people are greeting me and I'm greeting them. And then I see a staircase and I start to go up the staircase. And then I opened my eyes and I realized, okay, I'm not sleeping. I'm seeing this place, but yet when I open my eyes, I'm instantly back in my room. But I was trying to go to sleep. And so I closed them again, and immediately I was back at this party. But I wanted to fall asleep, so I didn't open my eyes again to come back into my room. I just kept my eyes closed. Now with my eyes closed, I eventually became a person at this party. I now stayed at the party, and I could see that I was wearing a sleeveless top with some big burnt ochre bangles, and it was not modern times. It was not now. It was the era where people had the big Angela Davis afro, and you could find black people, white people, Hispanics, Cuban, different nationalities hanging out at one party. The kind of party where everybody's wearing the bell-bottom jeans and stuff like that, and everybody's talking politics, and drugs are at this kind of party, and they have the alcoholic punch and things like that. But very quickly I got tired of all the activity, and I spoke to this one girl and I said, is there anywhere that I can get away from all this noise and music and stuff like this? My head hurts. And she said, of course, Celestial, you just go up to the top floor. Just keep going with the staircase. You'll get to the top floor. And she said there's a very nice area set up there at the roof, and they're playing quiet jazz. The music is very low. And she said, don't worry even that you'll be out of the loop. The drinks service and the food service comes up there, so don't worry that you'll be forgotten about. You'll still be able to get something to eat, and it's a lot less hectic than down here. And I thanked her, and I started going up the stairs, and I'm going up the stairs saying, excuse me, and people are standing on each landing. The music has different levels at different landings, so they're playing disco, and then they're playing funk, and they're playing whatever it is that they play in that time. Okay, so I climb all the way up to the roof, and I get to the roof, and I'm still fully awake. If I want to open my eyes, I can. I'm literally seeing all this just as soon as I close my eyes. And this is something that Yah has started doing again. And I will explain after I finish explaining this. I decided not to leave it out because I feel it's relevant, and I feel that it's important. At least it will be important for some people. And so I get to the roof, and the roof has obviously a heavy door. Most roofs in New York City, they have a very heavy door so that they don't close accidentally, I guess, when the super goes up there and everything. So I have to push this door a bit, and it gives a grating sound, and it opens. And as soon as it opens, I see just a few people dotted, and they've got, just like she said, little fairy lights. It's not as intense. The music is very low. And as soon as some cool air hits me, I start to feel better immediately. I'm not one for crowds, really. And so as I step over this raised step, a little way in front of me is a table, and there is a woman sitting there, a black woman, and she's speaking to a man who could be Cuban, could be Latin, could be even maybe mixed race. He's lighter than her and she's a little darker than me. And she had her hair, you know, when people start to do dreadlocks, but the dreadlocks are not long enough to just hang down, and you want to do chubby dreadlocks. So she had them in these big ringlets that don't quite come all the way down. So they were very nicely sticking out on her head. And she had just a simple t-shirt, and she was wearing one of the jackets that is very synonymous with the Black Panther Party. Okay, so she had a lot of hair, and she had a jacket that really, when you see the jacket, you just know it symbolizes these people are affiliated with the Black Panther Party. And the man was sitting next to her. He also was wearing like a Che Guevara type of cap tilted to one side. He was also wearing the black jacket and everything. But the thing that drew my eye immediately was the two short glasses. They weren't shot glasses. It was the kind of glass that you would call about an 8 ounce, but the glass is usually squat. These two people had squat glasses in their hands, and my eyes were instantly drawn to the liquid inside the glasses. The liquid was very thick red, almost like tomato juice, but not quite. Instantly, I open the door, the air hits me, I do a quick, reconnaissance of the place and think, I'm going to be happy here. I need to find a place to sit. Before I can step over the threshold, when the door opens wider, I see this table, I see two people. The guy has his glass up, he's about to put it to his lips, and the woman has her glass on the table, and my eyes are riveted to this liquid in the glasses. Immediately, my eyes go to the glasses, and I look up and I look straight at the woman, and without thinking, I say to her, you're not supposed to drink that. You're not allowed to be drinking that. And this woman moved like lightning. No human being can move like that. The speed at which that woman moved. And I'm saying all this so that you can basically see what my evenings are like, and how it has dawned on me that I will probably never be able to catch up to finish all the things that I see, all the things that God can just show you, just to show you He's God, just to show you that His eye is all over the world. His eye is in the past, because this is an event from the past. This is a look into the past. That lady got up from that table. I'm talking about sitting at a table with your legs tucked under it. That lady put her hands on the table, pushed the table forward. There's glasses on it. No glass moved. No glass went ting-ting-ting. Not even ice in the bucket that they were not using. They were drinking this liquid neat. That lady got up, pushed the table back, stood up, came around the table, and was standing in front of me like that. All those things, she did it like that. She reached me faster than any human being has ever moved on this earth. And she was standing right in front of me. I've already described what she was looking at. And the woman moved so fast that the man was still in the position of staring at her like she was the most wonderful creature that he had ever seen in his life. She was out of her seat and in front of me, and the man had not yet changed his body posture or been able to move his head to follow her movement. His face was still staring at the empty spot where she was sitting, and that woman came right in front of them, came and stood in front of me right after I said to her, you shouldn't be drinking that. That's not allowed to drink. And so she comes and she stands in front of me, and I look at her and she looks at me, and we look directly into each other's eyes because we are the same height. And I knew this woman has been dead a long time. And this is a woman without rot. This is a beautiful Black woman. This woman is lovely. And yet I looked into her eyes and I knew this woman has been dead a long time. Very long. She's just passing time with this man because this man likes her, and his attention makes her feel alive and makes her feel good. She's also with the Black Panthers, but she doesn't even care about them. I could feel this throwaway energy, this nonchalance in this woman's heart, like Black Panthers, Black Schmanthers. I don't even care. And yet the existence of the Black Panther, despite all the lies of white America to designate them as a terrorist group. In America, terrorist just means a group that disagrees with the majority party and its views that they should have everything and keep everything and disenfranchise everyone else until the Lord returns and proves that they are the only people who should exist on earth. The Black Panthers are no different than any other organization that arises in resistance to endless oppression by one group of people who keep saying, you don't have the same value as us, and you don't have the right to have a voice. You don't have the right to freedom of expression. We know that the Constitution says you can express yourself, but we are going to continually pervert your speech until we make everybody treat you like anathema, a snake in the grass. And so this woman knew that at that time, what the Black Panthers represented and why they existed in an oppressive America. But she was just with them because she was the right color. And she was still alive. She was still alive. And so to her, if this is the newest movement that people who look like me are doing, and I no longer have to live, I guess, as a slave in the slave era, I'm still alive now, so then I'll just blend in. But I saw in her heart and I saw in her eyes that she didn't care about them at all. It was just a good place to be for her because she looked like Black people and she's still alive, so she has to pass the time. Just by looking in her eyes for a split second as she's looking into mine, I gained all that from her, but I was not able to perceive what that lady gained from me. All I know is that she looked into my eyes and then she smiled, and when she smiled, one side of her mouth went up and the tooth there was sharp. And I just sighed. I just sighed like this tired, I guess I'm just always going to be seeing these things. And I knew I wasn't sleeping. I knew that I could leave that place instantly if I liked. And so I just opened my eyes and I kept them open for a bit to make sure that I don't go back to that place. And then after a while, I tried to sleep again. This first experience that God is showing me that I've given to you is just to let you know that the undead, the unclean, the unrighteous, the forsaken, they come in all colors. There's a strong belief among Black people that, I don't know, that every demon looks like, what's the name of that guy from Interview with the Vampire? The Vampire Lestat. That he has to be white and striking and, I don't know, extremely pale, like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. There's no such thing. The works of the devil are endless. That's what Luke 10 and 19 tells us, that we have the power to trample on serpents and scorpions and all the works of the devil. And the devil is no fool. The devil is never going to try to trick you with something that you don't favor. How can you be tricked? How can you be enticed? How can you be tempted by something that you're not interested in, by something that you're not attracted to? The devil is the eternal connoisseur of destruction. When you say that someone is a connoisseur of destruction, it means that that person has limitless and endless ways to be able to catfish souls. I've preached here until I'm blue in the face that the most important currency upon this earth is faith, the currency of faith. The second most important currency upon this earth is the human soul. It's not the animals. It's not the cosmos. It's not anything else. The reason that God won't leave this world alone is because the two most important currencies bear his eternal stamp. God is the author of all faith, and God is the author of all human life, within which vests the human soul. God is never going to leave this earth alone because God's wealth is here. I'm not going to go so far as to say all of God's wealth is here because God loves his world. God cares about every goldfish that is born and every sparrow that falls out of the sky because it has completed its short little life. The Lord looked at his whole creation and he said that it is good. So I'm not one of those arrogant Christians that has this worldview like, oh, he didn't want heaven without us, so he brought heaven down. This is nonsense lyrics to fool children. The Lord made the earth and he co-signed the earth as good. He made Adam last. God loves the sea. God loves the animals. God loves the topography. God loves the fact that when you look at the back of the monarch butterfly, when you look at the back of the butterflies, there is an intricacy there, and not a single one of us is good. Not even Japanese artists who are so good with those tiny brushes, not even they are good enough and delicate enough to be able to paint with that removable dust that is on the back of a butterfly. That's all Jesus Christ. That's all the work of the Holy Spirit. And all of that was done before any of us showed up. We are not the only thing on this earth that God loves. God is hurt when we pollute his seas. God is hurt when we have wars and we destroy the beautiful lands. He's hurt when we destroy the world around us, when we don't take care of our surroundings, when we cause the environment around us to become polluted with our gases, our plastics, our litter, our trash, our social irresponsibility. He's hurt by all that. We're not the only thing that's on his mind. But when it comes to the important core and central things, yes, it definitely is faith. And faith can only be found in the human heart. There's no faith that can be found in a Nephilim heart. There's no faith that can be found in the heart of an ancient woman that I still find living in the 1960s, cosplaying as a Black Panther acolyte, not knowing she's just an undead, vampiric black thing. She could be your sister. There's this movie, I think, that came out some years ago called The Age of Adeline. Adeline comes in all colors and all genders. They're old, they're ageless. They're just passing time. They cannot die. They're simply waiting for the day when it's acceptable to eat their spouse. That's the only reason that they're here. I can't give you a reason for why God showed that to me. All I can say is that to those of you, I can't even claim, oh, it's because my fasting is taking me into a new dimension. God is just doing something new and exceptional with me. And I've always been saying here to people that as you spend time just here in the grace and the anointing that is here, without annoying me so much, some of you can be so annoying. Does Celestial know this? I mean, I find it very strange that Jesus is talking to her and yet she doesn't know. Yes, she doesn't know that one little pebble of knowledge that you found on the road in your 5 minutes of Christianity. You come here to learn, but then you still want to pull the tape measure out and measure me and you, and yet you don't know that we're not the same person. We're not the same thing. We're not made of the same materials. We will never do the same things. So the things that you're wondering about, just keep it in your front pocket, close the button, and stop annoying me. Yah is doing this because I've said to many people, I think I put the clip up about 2 months ago. I said, keep spending time in the presence of God, whether it is through singing that you feel closest to him, whether it is through simply letting the Psalms play and you sit and you listen to the Psalms and you allow the Psalms to absorb not just into your ear. You don't just listen with it in the ear and then process it in the mind. Oh, David is saying this. Okay, Asaph is saying this in the Songs of Ascent. No. The Bible goes in at a core level. I said that it is just like Tetris. When it is going in, the presence of the living God is going in, and it is fortifying you in ways that you will not even understand what is going on. And then in another season, you will suddenly start to see the manifestation of additionals. I simply call it additionals. I've had these additionals for a while. They go into a state of repose, rest, especially when I'm busy. But once I return to closeness with the Lord and start to say, Lord, can you allow more time in my life just for us? This thing has been happening to me for a series of weeks. I don't always remember what I see, but as soon as I lay down, I'm not even sleeping. All kinds of movies just start to play, and I do not know where I will end up. So when I kept my eyes open, because I thought, I'm not staying here to interface with this woman and her fangs. I don't want to hear any long dead Satan speech such as, we have always been here. Our day. I hate that stuff. That is why I do not watch superhero movies, because it's always in there about the stupidity of man and about the superiority of the unclean, the Nephilim, the undead, the Anunnaki, whatever they are, and about how Satan, their master, is misunderstood by the Great One. The Great One didn't give our Lord Master a chance. I hate that stuff. I hate the conversation of Satan in the movies. I hate it in the newspapers. I hate it on the news, and I hate to hear it coming out of the mouths of Christians. I cannot stand it. So anyway, I kept my eyes open and I thought, you know what? I'm not staying here for her to do whatever she does. She's just an imprint in time. That's all she is. She's something that happened before. She's probably out now married to somebody, some unfortunate black man. Who knows? But the thing is, this is a moment in time from the 60s. I don't have to stay here with this woman. That's why I just sighed. I opened my eyes. I kept my eyes open long enough. I closed them thinking I'm going to sleep, and I found myself staring at a chain link fence. You know, a chain link fence, it looks just like the links of this sweater. That's how the fences that they have outside schools or outside the basketball courts. I found myself looking at a chain link fence, but I was so far away that it was blurry. So I thought I was looking at a wall of silver coins. But as I kept walking towards this fence, the fence came into focus. And I found myself in a Hispanic neighborhood, probably in the 80s. It looked like in the 80s because that was the time when the city, Brooklyn, Crown Heights, those areas, they used to turn on the fire hydrants in really bad summers, just to let the kids play in the water, to wet the streets, to cool the area down. And so I found myself outside a nighttime basketball game in a predominantly Hispanic area at a time when Hispanics actually had a lot of money and weren't under so much pressure and duress like they find themselves now in 2025. They were having a night game, and it was exclusively teenagers. Teenagers in different type of basketball vests were doing a playoff. So one team will play, and right there, if you don't win, you get eliminated, and then the winner goes on to play the next, and they were eliminating each other like that. So you know that the atmosphere at that place was electric. And because it was such a big neighborhood thing, parents even let little children stay up. Little children were climbing that chain link fence. I'm talking about little 4-year-old, 5-year-old, mostly boys, but also girls, climbing up the fence to the top of the fence and then carefully coming down, and their fathers were cheering them on from, the stone steps. It wasn't proper bleachers. It was just like stone steps. And the dads were like, yeah, you're doing great. And then the moms were yelling like, get down from there. And absolutely no baby was getting down from there. And the sisters were cheering on their brothers, and the teenage brothers were playing. And it was such a nice atmosphere. And I felt so comfortable there. And I just stood and I watched the babies on the fence, and I was watching through the wall. And I also had the presence. I had the feeling of the mafia. The feeling that I had that was like draped over that area where we all were was the mafia was there, or it was the time when the mafia was operating. But the feeling that was in my heart, as if I was one of these people, is that the mafia isn't bad. The feeling that I had was that if you went to the mafia, they took care of things like the family medical bill that they did not demand. I don't know, they weren't demanding hush money from these people or whatever it is that the mafia was known for, that the mafia were the ones who were doing repairs in the school, doing repairs in the districts, doing repairs in the apartment buildings when the government, the state, was refusing to put federal dollars into these neighborhoods. The mafia were using their laundered money to fix neighborhood things and neighborhood problems. And so the feeling that was in me coming off these people was that this is like Big Brother, that Big Brother looks out. And so I stayed there with them, listening to the clapping and the cheering of the basketball game. And then again, I opened my eyes, and this time I just said, Lord, I want to sleep, please. I want to sleep, please. I am very tired. And it's already very late. It was after 4 o'clock. It was like 4:47 after these two experiences. So I said, can you please help me to sleep this time? I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to sleep. And so I don't really know when I fell asleep, but I do know this. Here is dream one. I fell into a dream. There was a man with a bushy, reddish beard. His beard was reddish, brownish, light brown to black, like that. And this man was in the center of Manhattan, and this man was livid. This man was angry, and I cannot say that this man was an activist. The feeling coming off this man is not that he was an activist. This man had made a cutout. Please try and stay with me. This guy created for himself a cardboard cutout made of nukes. I don't know how many nukes. This man had taken the time to get cardboard, And then either he glued paper on top of it, because I don't think you can color cardboard that well. I think he had put construction paper on top of it, and this man made the perfect representation of an ICBM. I think it's called ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. He had made so many missiles with the correct tip, the correct look, silvery gray, everything. He had made one, another, and then he made them like this. He glued them like this until all the warheads were sticking out in a total circle of warheads, exactly like a battery pack. And then he had created a Captain America shield like that. So big the warheads were that when he put the warheads on his back, he had missiles sticking out just like a Native American chief. He had warheads sticking out on all sides of him in a sundial pattern. Okay, that's what he had on the back. And then he was angry. And then in the front, he had a big sign. So he wasn't wearing anything in the front. He just had the straps to keep his nuke battery pack on his back. And in the front, he had a big sign with thick black letters saying, "Where's my tax break? Where's my tax break?" And this man was loudly shouting that America should stop giving money to billionaires and to Israel. That's what he was doing in the center of Manhattan. He was more mad about money that goes to Israel than he was about tax breaks and tax cuts going to the billionaires. But he was angry and enraged about both. He was saying, how was he supposed to live? And how was he supposed to pay his bills when secretly in almost every can of soda that he buys in America, or any plane ticket that he buys, or anything that he tries to do involving money, he says that it has an embedded tax that he knows is going to the Jews. So how is he supposed to live as an American, knowing that nearly every action he takes on a daily basis is basically funding a nice and a cushy life for Jews and billionaires? Where's my tax cuts? He kept shouting, and each time he would push forward his sign as he was just walking around in a general area with his nuke battery pack, his nuke sundial pack on his back. When does my turn come? This man says. When is my government gonna care about me? Now, I'm walking by and I have one bag of groceries, and this man attracted my attention because even though in New York you can see everything from the second coming of Christ to the moon landing, part 3, right here in this city, you can see that. And most people just walk past it because generally we're so over it. But there was something so compelling about this man, because this man was not doing this for any kind of... There's something sometimes about protesters and activists, they don't really mean it. And that's because only a few people in a protest really, really mean it. And then some of the people are just there for the vibes. Some people are just there so that they can say, I was there, something like that. But there was something compelling about this man's speech. And so he attracted a sizable crowd, including me. But because nobody was him but him was officially protesting, the Manhattan cops that were standing there just kind of leaned. They just kind of leaned and they were looking at him. They just stood on the side and they watched him. And then a few people took out their phones and they began to stream this man live to their platforms. But even though he saw the phones come out, he remained true to his agenda. He remained true to what he was saying. He didn't start posturing. He didn't start pretending because he saw that cameras were out. He didn't perform for the cameras. He didn't get more grand, and he didn't start overstaging his anger just because he was being recorded. He stayed the same, and as he was moving about, I saw that this man wasn't even poor. He had taken off a good pair of shoes and he had put them by the side of the steps of the building where he was. He was therefore standing in this nasty New York in just socks. He was standing on the street. He was not wearing bad clothing. He was not like disheveled or looked like he lived at the shelter or anything like that. I could see this man has what we might call a middle class life, or even just a cut above middle class. But yet I could see that he had been to college, and I also saw that he spoke with good knowledge on subjects like the national debt and the endless printing of money that happens here in the United States. So he was a knowledgeable man. And in fact, behind his sign, he had different graphs also on big construction paper that he would pull out from time to time, and he would put it in front of, "Where's my tax break?" the angry sign. And then he would work off that, and then he would bring the tax break sign back in front when he was done with the graph. And one of the graphs he had, I saw, was a graph of where America had started from financially before the creation of what we know as the Fed, which is just a central bank. The central bank exists in almost every single country, but then America likes to act like she doesn't have a central bank, like she's not captured by the Rothschilds and the Jewish bankers that forced, I think it was Mr. Roosevelt, though I'm not sure, it might have been him or someone else, to basically get one of those banks. And then because it's called the Fed, the Federal Reserve, and then everybody acts like, oh no, it's different. It's just a central bank like all the other Commonwealth countries have. Okay. And so he had this graph that showed where America had started from pre the creation of the Fed, and then how she had steadily gone down into fiscal debt ever since. And he also had a projection of where she was headed based on the rate of government spending that we're doing right now, and also the rate of taxation of the average citizen. So there's no way that this man could have come up with all this kind of mathematical computations and put it into an infographic that anyone could look like and see the downward trajectory over the years without understanding that this person has been to school. And so just as this man was speaking, a bomb went off. For me, there was a bright flash in the area where we were standing, but there was no devastation that should go with a bomb. If a bomb goes off, something has to have been bombed. Something has to fall to pieces. Something has to crumble down. There have to be some people bleeding at the site. Everybody's fleeing. There was a bright flash in the air where we were for me. But then at the same time, I don't know where this bomb went off because nothing was bombed. I don't know if it went off exactly where we were because nobody else seemed to have seen it except me. I don't know if it was near the man. I don't know if the bomb went off at a TV station because suddenly I'm the only person who was seeing a TV station as the announcer, the female announcer with wide eyes, was holding her papers and going through a breaking news announcement with wide eyes saying that a bomb has gone off and a serious war has started. Where we were with the man, a few people started running, but I didn't run because I didn't know where this bomb sound was coming from. Was it near us? Was it far away? And where exactly was it? Why should I run if I don't know if I'm running into harm or if I'm running from a place that's already safe? And so I stayed put. And after this first bomb went off, with the news announcer somehow in the air behind the man announcing that there's been a bomb and now a serious war has started, this man began to flog the back of former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. This man began to say that Tony Blair is an irresponsible blight on British history. And he blamed him for a lot of things that I can't exactly remember what he said. He was very bitter while speaking about Tony Blair. And he said that nobody ever accused Tony Blair of having a brain or a spine. He will be remembered in history, the man said, for having no spine. And the things that he has done will be done upon him and his family in times to come. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You watch. We will all see what happens to Tony Blair. We will all see what happens to people who go along with everything and don't tell America no. Now, as the man was turning this way and that way with his sign, either showing us the sign that says, "Where's my tax break?" or showing us an infographic as he was talking about various aspects of America's past history and her fiscal irresponsibility and her endless history of wars, a bomb went off again. Again, I saw bright flashes of, I'm talking about super bright to almost white light directly in the sky above us. Not an ash cloud, not the warhead cloud. It was like the sky became backlit, bright, searing, whitish yellow, like that. And this time when that happened, the TV announcer appeared announcing that a second bomb has gone off. But then this time, this woman was like a hair away from shrieking. She was completely a mess. No more professionalism. Okay. She was a mess, and she was hanging on to professionalism of, I'm reporting the news by a hair. The woman was so hysterical that I'm surprised she didn't just shriek the news at us, throw her papers in the air, and flee off the scene. She was clutching her cheeks like a cartoon character and doing her best to remain professional as she told us, the United States has been bombed again. Again, there was no TV in sight by which I could get this news. It's not like we were in Times Square, whereby you know that every inch of Times Square is covered by the Jumbotrons. Jumbotrons are those massive TVs that are plastered on the sides of the buildings. Some of them are even bigger than the side of a building, you know? So it's not like we were in Times Square where if anything happens, all the Jumbotrons will switch to breaking news. This woman was just appearing in the air for me and telling me that America had suffered a second hit, a second bomb. The newsroom was overlaid for me behind the man and his now growing crowd. And then behind that, people were ducking. You know, when people duck and run and they're trying to get to the entrances of the train to at least go down into the train to be safe from whatever's happening up, people were becoming hysterical in the city, in Manhattan. And this time I moved a little bit away from the man because who's this man? And why is this man talking all this forbidden political talk? And then suddenly bombs are going off. I couldn't piece it together. And so I didn't want to be standing too close to the man. But for some reason, I didn't want to leave this man's presence. A man who can walk around in the center of the city with a circular star of nukes on his back. A man who now was saying what I heard this man saying. A man who was now saying that Dick Cheney was the one who was behind it. Dick Cheney was the one who was behind it, said the man. He's the one. He started it. He's the mastermind of it all. And if you can't see that, you're a fool, just like all the rest of them who sat there and let it happen. It's gonna be done to us, you know. You don't think so? You're a fool. He's the one who started it. And we're going to get the comeuppance just like that, out of nowhere. Because you can't follow men like this and think you're going to grow old in peace and die. Nah. Oh, no. We're going to get it. It's coming. We're going to have war just like those people had war. And it's going to be big, just like we did it to them before. Now, by this time, a news van pulled up to the place where the man was, and they started setting up the cameras and everything. And the woman is arranging herself and clipping on. It's like, are we, Mike, are we ready to go? Like that. She's clipping on her microphone and getting ready to cover this man. And still, despite the growing attention, this man had not changed his behavior. He wasn't hungry for the attention of the cameras. He wasn't gloating now that he had increasing attention. And he wasn't showing off just because there were so many more phones on him now. So many more phones had picked up because this man was dropping bombs out of his mouth, I guess to match the ones that were going off in the background. So many more phones picked up, and they were beaming him live to every conceivable social media site in the United States. And for some reason, God allowed me to see on these phones that it wasn't small numbers. I saw 500, 410, 367. You know the little red eye? There's a little red eye that appears in the corner of the camera when you go live to show you how many people have joined. That man was getting 500, 367, 410. He was getting big, big numbers off these phones. And everybody was watching live a man dressed in nuclear weapons, like a Captain America shield on his back, reciting all the sins of America. In my mind, I thought, it's time to leave now before that real camera that's about to focus on this man pans and I end up being seen on the news and my mother says, "What did I tell you about living in New York?" So I picked up my grocery bag and I started walking, and then I walked myself right back to sleep. There's words that Yah gave me for this dream, but I do not feel that I should break the flow now. I will give the words for this dream concerning the war at the very end of the video. So I got up and I momentarily did a few things, but I felt tired and I wanted to sleep. And so in the early afternoon, I slept and I had a dream. I saw in a series of clips, just the way we do action movies, where it shows a clip and there's a lot of activity and the music goes and then the clip goes black, either because the main character closes his eyes and then opens them again, or either because they black out the clip for effect and then the clip comes back and it shows a little bit more, it's a little bit longer. Good movies do that to build tension. That's what it was like. I had a dream that ended up being exactly like the dream that I had that is called The Wolves Are Coming from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, the Holy Spirit, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, revealed to me that the force, the paramilitary, the whatever you want to call it, that we currently know as previously pencil pushing ICE and customs enforcement officials, are the deadly force that God has been talking about on this blog forever. And in that dream, God showed me very clearly that these people have received an extermination mandate that is not being disclosed to us by the government. The government tells us that the country is filled with Trendiaragua, and the 4-year-olds that I was addressing in the beginning of this video believe that. They've never seen a gang member in their lily white life. But because the TV tells them that America is a gangland, just like the TV told them in the 80s or the 90s, I think when Bill Clinton was president, that all the black people in America were carrying crack in their bras and their pants pocket. And that's why they had to flood the neighborhood with cops and arrest them all, because all black people care about is crack. Clearly, the same groups of people are just a little older, but are still as slow. It's very easy to tell that crowd that they're under attack from something. As long as you give them a brown boogeyman, they're going to eat it right up. And so these people believe that ICE is here because apparently Joe Biden let in the entire population of the known universe. There's only 3 people in China and 1 person running the whole of India and farming and just being 1 person, the population of India, because the whole universe, apparently, according to this side, came into America, and it's never presented to them that they came into America using the very laws that the previous president put into place. So the previous president made his own legal orders. Yes, it does anger that side, because that side thinks that we're here in heaven. This is heaven. The only problem is that we can't see Jesus or the angels, but America is heaven. In their minds, everybody wants to be here. This is a spot, right? So it's never put before them that those people actually were given legal amnesty to come here. Therefore, to them, any means necessary is okay by which to carry out immigration. But then that type of logic begins to eat its own tail, because I spoke of the algorithm and I said that when you train the algorithm that you don't mind breaking laws to achieve a certain end, you will not later be able to tell the algorithm, oh no, it's okay, you can stop now because I'm starting to notice that you're not picking up Mexican people and you're not only picking up Haitian people, you're kind of making a mistake and picking up some white people. Actually, you happen to have caught my Canadian wife in one of your broad sweeps. That's not what I voted for. I only voted for you to catch the others. So that's what they think ICE is for. But God knows that ICE is actually the long arm, the first long arm of the beast states takeover of the United States. And what Yah revealed to me is that ICE has received official orders to kill. And since I did that video 3 weeks ago, we are up to 4 or 5 deaths, including the recent one. The woman didn't die. If she had died, ICE would be up to either their 5th or their 6th death. The lady who has, I just call her the MMM name. Her name is Maria something. This woman had a legal carry permits for the pistol that she had. But according to ICE, the woman pulled out a semi-automatic Jackie Brown gun and let loose on them, only for footage to emerge that the ICE official called the woman the B word, came right up into her face and said, do something, do something. They shot at her 5 times. I'm not saying 5 times that missed. I don't know if the lady got shot 5 times like 50 Cent, but they opened fire on her 5 times and then lied about it until footage came out to show that the ICE agent was the instigator and the shooter, firster. So this only happened 2 or 3 days ago, but 3 weeks ago, even before Mr. Kirk was shot, the Lord revealed to me someone in this country taking a next shot. And the Lord also revealed to me that ICE will kill you if you are black, that they will kill you. I saw the whole thing. They will kill black people and they will kill brown people. This is Indian people. This is Mexican people. This is you if you're a very tanned Asian. Just in case Asian people are thinking that, we're not in it. You will definitely be in it because you are one of the others. And so God revealed that they have orders. I saw that they were carrying guns, and God revealed to me that they have orders to kill, and that when they kill, they will not be held accountable for the killing. In the dream, I saw that ICE executed a group of workers that they caught at a factory. I said that the factory was in a kind of isolated place. The kind of ground, if you kick the ground, it will make dust. So the factory was in that kind of place, and the Mexican guys were working there, obviously for somebody who owned the factory, and the factory was raided. And I saw that they put the guys in zip ties with their hands in the front, and they brought them out. And I was kind of standing, I couldn't see my body. It's almost as if, you're watching TV, but the perspective is just as if you're there. And I was watching as the ICE agents brought about like 20 something guys out. And the guys are just standing because, obviously when ICE catches you, I guess, it goes around in the community. What's next is that you're supposed to go into a van, and then they take you to that place where they're putting pee in your water and doing all kinds of things to you. But then the ICE agents opened fire and started shooting the people. And I said that the majority of the men instantly started running. Good instincts. They scattered out like this and they started running. Only one guy dropped to his knees to beg for his life, and they killed him right there. But then ICE turned and started target practicing the people. And I said I saw some of the people running towards me with this desperate look. And I said, God, these people are really, really strong, because it's very hard to run when your hands are zip tied in front of you. But they were somehow managing to run without losing their balance, without tripping. ICE massacred all those people. And then in my dream, it flipped to a press conference, and God showed me the government telling the Kool-Aid that all the racist people on this side love. The government was saying that these people were dangerous, fully armed cartel types who opened fire on the ICE people, and the ICE people had to defend themselves against these dangerous illegal aliens. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at this man lying in the press conference with a whole bevy of people. You know how they can never do a press conference by themselves. They need like all the optics, the black, the Hispanic, the Asian, and the white. Everybody has to be there to show America is such a unified and we love everybody kind of country. And this man is standing there and he can barely contain his smirks. And the press is asking. But it was a factory though. These men were factory workers. How were they armed? Hadn't they already been apprehended by the ICE agents? Because the ICE agent story was that a violent shootout occurred with basically the factory version of Tren de Aragua, and they had to put all 20-something of them down to save their lives. Imagine, ICE had to execute the whole squad to secure and contain the area. And there are people in this country who will believe that. Right now, before that prophecy comes to pass, the fulfillment of a mass killing like that, there are people in this country right now who believe that it's necessary to shoot everybody who's Mexican and working in Walmart for national security. But we shall continue with this dream because God got something for you who think like that. I saw that the government became complicit in the lie for ICE. They protected ICE. They lied for ICE. And not a single thing happened to ICE for that mass murder, that execution style murder that they did. When they finished killing those men, I saw in the dream that they dragged them all together in one big pile. And then God turned off the sound in the dream so that I could not hear what ICE was planning to do and what they were planning to say with the bodies. But I sure did find out their story later in the second part of the dream when I heard the press conference. And so this dream that I had in the early afternoon, I saw a clip exactly like that. The first clip that flashed in front of me, I saw this beautiful, voluptuous girl. This man had daughters. This is just what I picked up as I went through the dream, but it's easier for me to give you an idea so you can know. Or I can just say, I saw a beautiful, voluptuous white girl, perfect skin and hair. You know the Pantene style of hair. Blonde hair, blue-eyed girl with flawless skin, full milk-maid cheeks, wearing something like a farm dress in like blue or very pale violet with an apron on top of it, right? Very Amish looking setup. But these are not Amish. These are normal white Vermont or Montana girls. And I see 5 girls separate like the fingers of a hand, fleeing in all directions with ICE fully masked. You know that these ICE men are chunky. That thing I wrote on my page, if you don't go back and read it and take it seriously, then may God be with you, you female of all colors. For the entire time I have been here, I have told you that you must go to God on your knees and ask God to set you free of the lie that feminism has created in you. This lie that men and women are equal. Like you don't have eyeballs inherited from your great-grandmother all the way down to you. God has been merciful to you, your whole family. You have eyes that work. But because you went to some kind of Diary of Anne Frank University that is out here telling you that because 1 or 2 women are strong enough physically to go and work on an oil rig, then you think it represents the majority of women, and you think that women are equal to men in stature, in strength, in endurance, in stamina. You don't know what's inside that XY. You don't know what happens when an XY gets angry, because an XY is afraid to go to jail in this country. And that is why he has not slapped you until your head spins around 6 times like a Popeye cartoon. You're out here walking around because you think that the law will always defend you. You can't touch me. You can't touch me. Sister, men can touch you. Men can cause you to cry the kind of tears, no matter what they tell you in the psychiatrist's office. You will rock back and forth. Men can cause the kind of pain that only Jesus Christ will have to come down from heaven to see what he can do about it. And I'm the one who has told you on this place that God has said to me that the damage that a man can cause, he says to me sometimes, Celestial, it cannot be repaired. And he said, those are the ones you lose. He didn't say those are the ones he loses. Jesus Christ is an operative behind the veil. He's an operative behind the veil. He does his own things in his own realm, in his own ways. And even me, walking along with him by his pinky toe, I don't always know how he's doing things. I don't know how he weighs things. There are people that hurt themselves and that take themselves out of this life because of the damage that a father, that a brother, and now you are hearing me say that the police, that the army, that ICE, that the paramilitary, you see a man not afraid to jump out of a chopper, and then it's that man you're going to start popping your neck. I'm a citizen. That man will slap you. Ma'am, you're going to have an Igor patch for the rest of your days, because when a man's fist connects with your face, you see this eyeball? My father is a surgeon. My father is the one who informed us that eyeballs are not toys, because he told us that the eyes, though they look secure, he said that they are mounted on stalks, and you can be hit hard enough for the stalk to dislodge. Your eye will pop out just the way a grape goes, poop, off the stalk. You will be a baddie with the eye patch because you want to run your mouth in front of a man that I told you when he's chewing gum and that thing in his cheek is going gg gg. It's the time to shut up. It's the time to shut up. American women, you don't know when to stop. And we are in the days of a hard stop. Very hard stop. You will stop yourself, helped by me, or you will be stopped. Your mother will be doing this is Keisha. We haven't seen Keisha. Keisha was born in Illinois, but she's now in the ICE detention facility. It's been 241 days. 241 days, I just want to let you know, it's almost a full year. And the ICE people pee in the water. They pee in the water. People keep reporting that when they bring the water to people, they don't bring them bottled water anymore because we can't break the national coffers buying dollar crushable Poland Spring. They pee in the water and they bring it out to give to people for fun. Even the Korean people said that they were given water that stank. If water stinks, it's coming from the toilet or someone has urinated in it, because spit doesn't smell, but pee does. These 5 girls were running with these Buffalo Bill dudes running after them. And right there in my sleep, heart rate is up as I'm watching that. That was the first clip. 5 girls running and screaming. Heavy set girls, large chests, large hips, dressed in something that might be the uniform of what I understood later to be their daddy's farm. Farm is being raided and daddy is not there. They come to a man's wealthy dairy farm, find, I guess, no male farmhands around, or whatever it is, could have killed the farmhands. If the farmhands are Spanish, the farmhands have run off. Obviously, they've run off. Because a Spanish man, it's not to say he's a coward, but he has his wife and he has his children. The reason he's on your farm helping is because he's there to exchange his labor for the money that enables him to support his own family. He's not designated to start doing Desert Storm stuff because the branch of the American government, that certain aspects of this nation keep pressing the button. I like it. I like it. Keep liking it. Keep liking it. God got something for you. They come to this farm and the first thing I see is 5 women fleeing directly towards the camera. Same as me. The only difference is daddy's farm is not in some forsaken place. This thing is happening in and about and in front of the stable areas where the stables are. So there's horses and I see these girls running out from among that place, one going here, the other going here, some running directly toward me, one running right past me, like past me, and then black like that. So just a moment, please. So then it comes again like this, and it opens, and now at least 2 sisters are out of the picture, and one sister, the biggest sister, she might have been the eldest, but she might have not been. She's managing to hit some of these men. She's big enough that when they try to get her, she engages and she's knocked 2 of them down at the point where they thought they would just come and grab. Because what ICE will do is ICE will just come and lift you. That's what I've seen them doing to women. I have footage of it. ICE lifted up a woman who is the size of the biggest sister that I'm describing here. That man lifted that woman the way the football boys, the guys who play high school football and pro football, there is something that I'll just call the bull. The bull is a machine that is on wheels, but it has a part here, a part sticking out, almost like something you can hang on or lift up. And it's padded. And how the boys train for the bull is they charge towards it and they go, huh, and then they run with it. They're supposed to run and condition themselves, pushing this thing back as far as they can. I have absolutely no idea what it's called, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. The thing that the boys run and they hook their arms and then they push to strengthen their calves and their whatever. So that's what ICE does to women. I have seen them do it to multiple women. ICE will grab you and will run for a couple yards with you and will go body slam on the ground. You're female, you've got female bones, you've got female parts. Those people knock you on your chest. You're out of commission for at least a month because a woman's chest is a man's down there. And you know it. And ICE knows it. And the way that they're treating females in these streets is not something that you should even see people doing. This is how I know that America is shaming itself in front of the world, because the deplorable acts that the government is using, when you use language like this, let me tell you something. When you use language like this, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that America is starting to commit human rights abuses. Let me tell you what happens in the mind of the average person. They hit the snooze button. That's the truth of the matter. When you use words like human rights abuses, phrases like that have been made hackneyed by the United Nations. They've used it so much that people do not envisage anything when you say human rights abuses. Human rights abuses actually has lost the power to shock the modern public. You say human rights abuses to your son, he would be like, yeah, it's really hard what's going on. And he will keep playing his video game. Unless you become descriptive with what is going on, the way I always endeavor to be here, people will not understand where we are. We are at a time where someone will Hulk Hogan body slam your mom, will WWE The Undertaker clothesline your 15-year-old son in his as yet undeveloped Adam's apple, and he may suffer an upper C-section, B-section, D-section spinal injury that will have you looking after a boy who was otherwise healthy in a chair. I already spoke about you that will get slapped in the face, miss mouth that won't close. And when your eye comes out, I promise you, no matter what you win in a settlement, and I'm here to let you know later in this video that there will be no settlements. You will be out one eye with absolutely no cash. If it sounds like a good deal to you, go for it. Go for it. You know me, I'm a supporter of what you support. If you like it, I love it. What is happening in America is not human rights abuses. What is happening in America is actually how every single dictatorship establishes itself. And here's the problem with the establishment of a dictatorship. The people inside the regime always think it's a joke until somebody dies. And I don't mean somebody like Jose. Jose's death doesn't shock America because America was created to kill Jose and LaShonda. That's America's bed and breakfast. She was created to end lives like that. So there's nothing shocking about that. America only responds when people like Charlie Kirk die, because the deaths of people like Mr. Kirk remind the majority demographic in this country that they also have blood that can make the news. That is when they have outrage. That is when they have a response. Remember, I said in one of my older videos that God is the kind of person who knows how to press a button to get a response every time. I said you can never, ever play with or predict God because he knows how to go after every sacred cow. The minute you declare that this thing is a sacred cow, you're going to hear crackling and you're going to see God warming his hands by the fire, roasting that thing. Because in his world, nothing is a sacred cow except Jesus Christ. There's no such thing as a VIP taped over, don't come here, don't touch this. It is not a mistake. I don't create my dreams. The reason that I'm telling you every single dream that I had in the single night, so that you can't say, oh no, she took a little bit of Xanax and she's making up these dreams. No, we came from an undead woman so that God can let Black people know that they are not outside the realm of the Nephilim, that they are never to assume that all the vampires are named Chad and Melanie. Never to play that game. Because Deshaun and DeAndre are vampires too. This is how the Lord chose to start off my night. Then he moves on to show me, Hispanics weren't always poor. They had unified communities where the dad and the mom were there, and they are not the stereotype that America has always shown. So he destroys one stereotype again, and then with another open eye vision, all I have to do is open my eyes and I leave that basketball court. God is showing me prosperous families in their own way, in their own community, living in brownstones. You can go and check it. They used to live in brownstones before they became gentrified and they were all driven out of there. Just enjoying a Friday night or a Tuesday night matchup game, and then everybody goes home and does homework in America that is supposed to be giving everybody a chance. And then we move to a man that is college educated, but I don't know, is he a Marine? Is he a previous war vet? Or is he just a man that is sick of living inside a Jewish-run corporation that constantly keeps itself in business by functioning through war and taxing the people of America to pay for it? And then all of a sudden, we're in dystopia with ICE agents running down flaxen-haired beauties, all of them blue-eyed and blonde. None of them look like Nunez or Deshonda. They all look like you over there who are doing FAFO. This is what I voted for. These men ran down these girls, ran them down, threw one and hit her in this part at the upper breast chest area, like leapt on her, like tackled her, full force, leaping, flying leap on her, and brought that woman down hard on her breasts in the dirt, and is wrestling her down there. Lord help me. So it was really frightening. They caught all of them, and the large sister was the last one. And what I saw was that these men were using full force. When a man is trying to chase you and you've managed to outfox him here and outfox him there, there's something in them. There's man speed inside men. When a man is running against his 15-year-old son and he just wants to show the boy a thing or two, he will turn on dad speed. He will turn on man speed. And then all of a sudden his son is eating dust. His son has to come back to that contest at 16, 17 until he is bulked up. And then he has youth speed. And maybe for the first time he can outrun his dad. But it is highly unlikely that even a daughter, even at the peak of her athletic career, will be able to outrun her father if her father was also a sprinter, or if he was an athlete, or if he was the one who trained her, because she's a woman and her dad has access to man speed. It was man speed that I saw these ICE agents turning on when these girls had managed to evade them for a while. They got fed up, and then they just started Usain bolting these girls down. And I wrote here, they were chasing them like it was men their own size that they were chasing. They would leap when they got close enough and tackle the woman down to the ground. Do you know what it is for a full-grown, heavy-set man to tackle you and knock you to the ground, knock your face into the ground, your cheek, your neck, and then kneel on your back or put his knee in your buttocks? Which man have you seen having an ICE agent put his knee in between his buttocks to zip tie him? Like, where in the Miranda United States, land of the free, home of the brave, purveyors of liberty and freedom, where have you seen that in the arrest handbook? To put your knee into a female's buttocks as she's wearing a dress during the arrest and restraint process. Where does it say to do that? So what happened to the last woman is the reason that I jumped out of this dream. The biggest sister, whether she was the eldest or not, was the last one that they had still not caught. The other ICE agents basically weren't bothering because they just thought that man will catch his. He will catch his. And this man had chased her for no avail, because she was the one that would stop when they thought that she was running. She would stop and go, and hit them, and they would fall, and then she would take off running again. So they weren't able to get her until when she was trying to watch the one in front of her, right? Another man sneaked up and just sort of snatched both her arms quickly behind her like that. He pinioned her from the back, and then as she was fighting that man, the one who was keeping his distance but trying to see what he could do, he then ran forward and grabbed her and pressed her from the front. And as she was tussling between these two men, the Lord changed the angle of the spy cam completely. He changed the angle that was watching where I'm standing. It's like I'm standing and watching people wrestling right in front of me. All of a sudden, God took it to what they call a spy cam or a pinhole cam. And this is what these nasty predator men like Dominique Pellico and the rest of them, they put it on their shoe. And then they stand next to you in the supermarket when you're wearing a dress, and they move their shoe just like near your feet because they want to look up your dress. They want to look up your skirt. The Lord turned my perspective to a pinhole cam. And this ICE agent that was in the front put his hand under the woman's dress and into her underwear. Which part of the arresting procedure is that? Because, I missed it in law school completely. I've missed it everywhere. In fact, I've only seen it in one movie. I think that movie won an award. It has Matt somebody in it. It's got Sandra Bullock in it. It's got the guy from The Mummy in it. Everybody knows the name of that movie. It just isn't coming to mind right now, but it's a famous movie. And there was a time where they were arresting a wealthy couple, and the policeman did that to the man's wife, and she never got any redress for that. There is a studied, when I say studied, it means it is deliberate. There is a studied refusal in the hearts and the minds of millions of people in America to accept that the police force of the United States is a very dangerous and unhinged and largely ungovernable mechanism. It exists. Studied means that in the face of exposés, in the face of documentaries, in the face of white paper, green paper, blue paper, peer-reviewed paper, name the paper, being published decade after decade, year after year, how dangerous the apparatus of your average cop in your average neighborhood is to people of color. People of no color swear and insist that the police are friendly. And I'm not going to let them off the hook, because why would they think that the police are anything but when the police are conditioned to be that way to you? If you walk into a store and the man always gives you a fresh bun, and then other people walk into the store and he always seems to make sure that it's the 2-day-old and 3-day-old buns that he hasn't sold yet, that he puts into their brown bag, and then they get home and they taste and it's hard and it's not as fresh, and they keep complaining, and he says it's fresh buns, and then you will say, but the buns are always fresh. He always gives me the freshest buns. Why would you ever be willing to entertain the thought of a universe that there are divergent means with dealing with people in the same nation? Why would you care? You would never care until the day that you got non-fresh buns. That's when you would care. You would only come to believe when God is warming his hands and burning the sacred cow of your belief that the police are your friends and your buddies. And that is why it is only now that most people are believing what I used to prophesy when I used to say that this army you take and terrorize other countries with because they're not white, because they're not wealthy. They even had their own wealth. And in many places, you destroyed the wealth, you destroyed the infrastructure, you destroyed way of life, you destroyed culture, you destroyed basically some people that America has destroyed have existed for hundreds of years before this country ever cobbled itself together and came up with a red, white, and blue flag. Cultures that are so old, they're in the Bible. America's only in the Bible in Revelation 18 as something with no name that is going to burn to the ground. But these other nations are named by their names. They are thousands of years old. And you've brought them down to broken, dystopian, beggar states simply because there were things you wanted to accomplish. And you always refused. People used to abuse me as I prophesied this, that it was possible for God to bring home the same hatchet that you used to cut up Afghanistan, that you used to cut up Lebanon, that you used to cut up Kuwait, Iraq. You never believed that it was possible for God to bring that hatchet home. And now he has brought it home, but he's brought it home, and then you think he's brought it home for Celestial and Jose only. This man, when this woman was held with her arms, held her entire body just out like that, that ICE agent leaned forward and put his hand under this woman's dress. And God showed me that he didn't just put his hand up her thighs. He put his fingers in her underwear. And at the same time, he licked her face from under the chin, licked her face up across her mouth, all the way up. And as he was doing that, God switched the woman, put me in the woman's body. And that man licked my face. And I came flying, supernova, nuclear warhead speed, out of that dream, reached for my phone and put on the internet what is about to become a common experience, even for the blonde, blue-eyed MAGA bunch. Because if God had made it people like me, everyone would say, oh no, our friends of color have to be careful. No, now we're about to learn that white is a color too. Straight from heaven, because God is just. Do you know what it is for a man to hold you against your will? For a man to lick you? When they're even looking at you and licking their lips, some of us just want to fight them like, why are you nasty? Do you know what it is for a man to lick your face and your father isn't there? And you can hear your sisters crying. You don't know what is being done to them. And then people will sit and say, human rights abuses. This that I'm describing to you is a human rights abuse. To be out on a farm with some guys and your father is not there. And if your father should come, they will shoot him. They will shoot your dad. When God put me in that woman's body and I experienced what that man was doing by putting his hands in her private area and running his tongue along the whole of her face, I flew out of sleep. I sat upright. I reached for my phone and I made a post instantly on YouTube. Hear the word of the Lord. ICE agents have been given full amnesty and impunity. Amnesty is different from impunity. Amnesty is when you do something, we know you did it, we hold the trial, we convict you, you go to prison, and then 1 week later, President Trump says, our brave ICE agents unjustly serving time at Mar-a-Lago are pardoned. That is amnesty. The crime is confessed to, admitted to, and you are found guilty. Guilt is assigned A sentence is assigned. It's impossible to give amnesty without the sentence having been passed, and at least you go to the actual prison. Then you sit in your prison bunk and you go on TikTok for 2 days, and then you find out that there's been a presidential pardon. Then you come outside. That's amnesty. Impunity means that you will never see the inside of a jail cell. Impunity means that we have what we call a policy meeting. We call all the ICE agents and we tell them, that's okay, we're all friends here. You can take off your mask. And then we go through the rules of how we're going to do this thing. And we are told, get your man by any means. Get him dead or alive. Get your woman by any means, and if you have a little fun with her, hey, you're protected from prosecution. You'll never see the inside of a courthouse. Everything that you do will fall under the new executive order called National Security Get Your Man by Any Means, Bill 22122. Amnesty and impunity means whether you go to court or you never see the inside of a courthouse, we already have found you not guilty. This is what the Lord is prophesying. This is what the Lord is saying, that ICE agents will be given a blank slate. They cannot be sued for anything they do to you. Their acts go into the memory hole and are erased as soon as you report them. You will not get any justice for anything an ICE agent does to you. According to how you act when they arrest you is how damaged or not damaged you will be. They will do cavity searches on females for no other reason than to demean you, frustrate you to your core, make you cry, and destroy you. They will put their hands where they have no legal reason to do so, and you will have, this is capital letters, no recourse in law to do anything to them. Caps continue. Stay out of the hands of the ICE agents. They are operating with impunity and total amnesty. The administration will do absolutely nothing to them. So hearing these has nothing to do with the power of Jesus Christ. The problem with Christians is that they think that the power of Jesus Christ applies in every situation. Jesus Christ is like a magic wand to some of us. You can warn some of us and we'll just be like, not my Jesus. I've always told you, this country has a lot of land. And that land, if you're lucky, you will get buried in it. But most of the time, they will grind you up and take you to McDonald's. America has enough graves. Remember that this is spiritual Egypt. Remember that the Hebrews, the people of God, once said, why did you bring us out of Egypt? Were there not enough graves in Egypt? We're in the series now where we're about to find out. Black, white, Hispanic, everybody, Asian, everybody, Native, everybody. Now we're about to find out how many graves there are in Egypt. That's the math. Who's going to be the last man standing? When Yah is telling us that this is the brown shirt force. That's what he told me as I'm trying to eat food this afternoon. Shaken by this dream. Frustrated by this dream. How can you tell me that a man is going to squeeze my chest as he's supposedly checking me for dangerous weapons and ID? Put his knee in a person's buttocks. Then you say we did what we could to restrain the prisoner. She was wriggling. Wasn't she, Cody? Then he's like, yeah, she sure was wriggling. Women, have you ever cried those hot tears that feel like lava? Those tears cannot be put back in your eyes by not my Jesus. Wickedness afoot as part of judgment does not fall under not my Jesus. The only way you solve things like this is to absolutely become candle smoke. You know candle smoke? The minute it's there, it's not. You don't play not my Jesus in an era like this because you're not a man. They will put their hands in places they have no legal reason to do so. So it's just going to be groping. Why? What are you cavity searching a woman for as a man? For what reason? Cavity searching with no glove. Are we still in the realm of human rights abuses, or are we now coming into the war crimes? Are we not edging into the war crimes arena, where they use rape as a systematic way of dehumanizing the female population? One arm lifting of women, body slamming them to the ground like it's WWE Final Slam for the belt. Now God is saying, groping, putting fingers in places, cavity searching. I had to make sure she didn't have a weapon. Won't you just want to pass on, pass away, perish, pass away, and then to be told you can't go to court after, because the president has made sure to give them both impunity, meaning do anything that is necessary during the course of an arrest. All actions, Miss Christy Nolan will say, are logical actions if taken in pursuance of restraining the 35-year-old female, 65-year-old female, 21-year-old female, suspected white member of Tren de Aragua. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Your own wickedness will come back on a perfect loop to bite you. Your own wickedness. What you thought was good for the goose, the gander will now eat it. And your Republican father will be there crying as you recount how your first 12-year-old experience was with some heavy-set 41-year-old huffing dude who will tell you, oh, we thought you were part of the cartels. Blonde, blue-eyed cartel member. Now what? You added coals to the fire. You thought it was funny. You thought it was the right and fitting American thing to do. The final dream. I will read you what God said about the final dream, but I didn't write it down because it's fresh in my mind. I was coming home from somewhere. Coming home, not to my house here. It was my parents' house in the dream. I got home. I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, one of my brothers was standing in the hallway. He was holding a plate of cheesecake. He looked at me, and then he went, shh. He didn't say shh. He just put his fingers to his lips. And then he kind of cast his eyes behind him down the hallway. I don't know at what. But as soon as I stepped in, my brother was standing in the hallway, like he was waiting for me. Maybe he had seen me coming up the driveway or something. I don't know. But he was waiting. He had a plate of cheesecake. He lifted his hand while holding the fork and covered his lips and then cast his eyes behind him. Now I understand. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we have visitors. Maybe my parents are sleeping. But either way, quiet. I'm taking off my coat. A time period, it was cold enough to need a coat, a scarf, and gloves, but no snow. So he starts to walk backwards down the hallway, and then he says in this loud, fake voice, the kind of voice that you want to use when you want people to hear that you're talking, but at the same time, it's not normal conversation tone voice. So he says, how was your day? And I'm taking off my my coat, hanging it up, my scarf, and I'm like, it was fine. I'm trying to play along, but at the same time, I'm thinking, what are we doing? And then he says, oh, did you manage to get everything done? And then I said, yes, I did. And he's putting his cheesecake in his mouth, and he's occasionally doing this. And I'm thinking, how are we doing quiet? But at the same time, we're talking, right? And as we're coming down the hallway, I'm starting to hear noise. I'm starting to hear something like a busy office, the sounds of a busy office. I'm hearing phones ringing, and I'm hearing male voices only. And then we come to the end of the hallway. My brother just hits a smooth right. But at the end of the hall is an opening, and that opening leads into a large living room space. And I look in the living room space, and there's just ice in there. Some of them have their masks on. Some of them have the masks rolled up to they roll it up until it looks like a beret. And or like a cap, like the winter cap, but when you roll it up, right? They have that on. Some of them have the mask on fully, and they're wearing these vests and everything, and there's talking, and they're sitting in our house. And because my brother has hit this smooth right, he's now in another hallway. And before I can react, my brother looks at me and goes, he shakes his head like, don't even try to breathe with sound, which means just keep your mouth closed and keep following me. So I am forced to just hit a smooth right with him and enter into the hallway that's going right. And then I've got so many questions in my eyes. And then he nods to one of our bedrooms, and we get in there, and I am speaking in the fiercest, loudest yelling whisper that I can. Who are these people? I know that it's ICE, but rage just makes you ask these useless movie questions for reasons that even I don't know. I'm like, who are these people? And my brother's calmly eating his cheesecake, and he says, it's ICE. And then I said, I can see it's ICE. Why are these people in our house? And he's like, beats me. I don't know. They came and they said that they needed to work here. I was like, are we a Holiday Inn? What do you mean they came and they said they needed to work here? This is our house. Does mom know? Does dad know? And he said, yeah, they know. I said, well, did they tell them no? He said, well, they kind of couldn't. They kind of couldn't say no. I said that they needed to work here. And they said that they had a work order to work here. And they said they're just going to need the place for a couple of weeks. I said, you are lying to my soul. You are lying to my soul that ICE is going to work in this house. Nobody's working in this house. And my brother is just cutting his cheesecake so calmly. And he's just putting it in his mouth. And then he says, or what? They're higher than the police. They're going to leave or what? They're going to leave here or what? What are you going to do? And I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I plop down on the bed. And then another thought bubbles its way to the top. And I said, do they know whose house it is? And he said, what do you mean? I said, me. Do they know about me? Do they know that I'm here? My brother laughs and he goes, we're black. We look the same. They don't know it's you. They don't know it's you. From the TV. They don't know it's you. He said, we just look like anybody else. He said they're going to be here for a few weeks. They said they're going to be working here for 2 to 3 weeks. And they need this house. And mom and dad decided not to put up a fight. So they're going to be taking 2 of the bedrooms. 2 of you are going to double up. 2 of us are going to double up. And it'll be fine. It's a couple of weeks. And I'm telling you, this helpless feeling, I actually just sat down on the floor. I got off the bed and I sat down on the floor to steady myself. And I thought about it, and eventually I started laughing. And I thought to myself, it's only God that can do this. It's only God that will see every house on this street containing families and their children, and then bring ICE to live in the house of the child that makes the videos about ICE. I thought to myself, only God can do this. And I started chuckling, and my brother asked me, what's funny? And I told him, I said, it's only God that will do this thing. It's only God that will bring a Moses under the nose of a Pharaoh and think that it's funny to have them in the same roof like that. And my brother was just like, yeah, I guess. And then he steps out of the room and he just leaves me alone in the room with my thoughts. And that was just the dream. ICE in our house. And when I woke up, here's what the Lord said. ICE agents and government agents will occupy homes and private property in America. They, meaning the ICE agents, along with other branches of government, mostly the military to be precise, will set up command posts and monitoring agencies inside people's homes. They will commandeer homes as if it is wartime and set up bases and command outposts on private property. And you will not say, this is private property. You will not be able to refuse this occupation. You will not be able to say, this is a private restaurant and I refuse service to ICE agents. They will slap some kind of sign on the door and turn your place and your entire staff into a designated ICE kitchen. Designated ICE kitchen is in capital letters. ICE kitchen. You will cook for them all week. You will cook for them all month. And the government will give you some kind of small stipend as a way to recover your costs for feeding ICE agents. But the point behind it all is you will do it all by federal order, whether you want to or not. Whether you feel like it, they will take a part of your home for federal agents to monitor someone on your street. They'll be staying in your house, a man you don't know, walking around with your wife and daughters there, walking to the bathroom with a towel around his neck. And I literally was seeing this hunky beef of a man, right? For some reason, going to the bathroom still with the ice mask on, with the balaclava or the face sock. He's still wearing it. He's got a towel around his neck. He's wearing nothing but these man shorts, right? Going to the bathroom in just his underwear while your small child is around, and there will be nothing you can do about it. It will be just like Nazi Germany. They took homes, vehicles, private property, wealth, restaurants, businesses, and everything else that they wanted from their owners and made it the property of the Reich. You will see these things in living color, and then you will know I have revealed them to you before it comes, that you would believe the word of my servant who came to you early and late, telling you the truth of my spirit, saying to you, thus says the Lord. This is the word and the revelation of the Lord Jesus Christ, America. You are an occupying force that has finally been occupied itself. Let the tree lie where it falls. And so the prophecy you're listening to is called The Wolves Are Here, an occupying force in America. The date is October the 11th, 2025. And this final dream is an ordinary person walking home, walking into a house to find that we have new family members that have basically set up a command post in the living room, about 5 or 6 ICE agents. And the strangest thing to me in this dream was the sight of the fax machine. I'll tell you right off. The fact that they had a fax machine at this time where everybody agrees, at least in business, that the fax machine is obsolete. But God was telling me when I woke up, and he was telling me there's no such thing as the fax machine being obsolete. The US government still uses fax machines. I have no way of knowing that because I don't know any government people, but he was telling me that the government still uses fax machines exactly the way, and he tied it to BlackBerry. BlackBerry used to be the superior company in encryption, and their secret was the fact that they were not using full face flat phones. They were not using these full face flat phones that are filled with Grand Theft Auto and filled with apps and so many back doors, because the whole of the phone interface is just software, which makes it so hackable. Half of the BlackBerry was that QWERTY keyboard, and I think that played a large part in why it was so secure. And when the government realized that these phones, which were wildly popular, everybody who was anybody had a BlackBerry long before we ever saw these flat surfaced smartphones that are all glass, and then our attention was put on that type of phone by excessive marketing and cash being put behind pushing that product to us. And BlackBerry just didn't have that kind of money to put behind their product. But the security on a BlackBerry phone is unmatched. And that is why the Secret Service and the presidents and all of them, they still use those phones, because those phones can't be hacked. Those phones have true encryption, not like the toy encryption that they tell us? How can Mark Zuckerberg own something like WhatsApp and we believe that our messages are end-to-end encrypted? As encrypted as open nostrils, yes, of course. BlackBerry is a true unhackable, and the government realized that it's impossible to spy on a population where so many of them favor this phone, where especially people in government, high up bankers, high up lawyers, maybe people in the government that might be having conversations that the government wants to lean in on but can't, because these people are carrying Blackberries. And so that is why that company was strategically targeted, was made a mark of, was attacked, and they basically drove it out of market share. And that still wasn't enough. They had to buy it up through other various people and cut up the company for parts. Everybody got sick of it. Everybody abandoned it. But tellingly enough, people in power still use that phone, so they can still do all their plots and their messages to one another remain safe. So I saw that these people had fax machines set up in our houses, and they were receiving fax. And I had a feeling like some of the fax were coming from outside the country. I don't even know if you can fax from the UK to here. I don't know if you can fax from another country to here, but I had a feeling that some of the paper that I kept hearing coming out, like constantly printing. I had a feeling that some of it was coming from outside the country, Europe to be specific. And ICE agents were in that house, and y'all was telling me that ICE will take up residency in homes, and people will not be able to say anything about it. That happened in the Bosnia War, the Bosnia-Herzegovina War. That happened in that war. That homes were occupied. Another thing that happened in that war was systematic raping of the women. They used it as a strong arm tactic. They literally raped their way town to town as a way to subdue the men and kill their fighting spirit. It is very, very hard, okay, to get men motivated and pushing back. A man will burn with revenge, but when his wife and 3 daughters has been raped, there's something in that man that is so destroyed, that unless he has a clear path to knowing there's an armed militia that he can join and pick up arms and go and fight, something that, for instance, the Israel conflict will not tell you. They will constantly talk about Hamas, but they will never tell you that Hamas is hugely made up of orphans who were once 6 years old, 8 years old, and are now 19 and 21 because Israel bombed all their parents and left them starving until they became adults. Because only half a narrative is better for the public than the full narrative. What would happen to a kid who had to sit by his mother and father's dead body until an aid worker or somebody on the way to another town found him and took him along? What kind of young man might he grow up to be, right? Because, of course, when America and Israel are fighting wars, they're always the pretty ones who never did anything. And then just like the Arabs hate us, I wonder why. What might the story behind all this so-called hatred be? Is it rooted in history, maybe? Or is it because everybody else in the world, because of the melanin in their skin, is just unhinged and just hates America? We will never know. These things are for the Lord and the angels alone. Mere men, we cannot look into these things. So God was showing me that exactly a Nazi playbook is being followed. And it was on my heart to tell you that if you have not seen my Nazi prophecies, Nazis in America Part 1, Nazis in America Part 2, Nazis in America Part 3, Nazis in America Part 4, lockstep. There are 6 Nazi prophecies on this channel, as well as a strong Nazi theme in almost all the beast system messages that tell us what America will look like. Uncategorically telling us what America will look like. A regime, a Reich. Now Yah is adding a layer that I never heard before. Something that Germany did all over, everywhere it went to conquer. They went into the best French mansions, the best Austrian mansions, the best Hungarian homes. And they set it up, they set them up as operational and command posts for the commandants, for the captains, for the head of the SS, for top ranking soldiers, and They basically took over people's dairies. They took over people's stables and liveries. That's where the horses are kept. They had their preferred gas stations. You had to give them free gas. They had their preferred kitchens. They would even take over and have German chefs in there, retraining the staff to cook meals that the Germans liked and preferred. And this is what Yah is saying. Yah is saying that if you have a restaurant, and right now Americans are taking great pride in refusing to give ICE agents food, in refusing to let them service their cars, in refusing to let them sleep in certain places, surrounding the Holiday Inns that the government books for them, and blowing their car horns all night, setting up boom boxes and playing music into the early morning to let them know you will chase down Hispanics, but you're going to do it sleepy. You're not going to have a night of sleep. Americans in many cities have been doing that, taking shifts outside the places that they know the agents have booked for the night to make sure that they can't go to bed, and the police are not able to get that many people to leave and everything like that. And so that's what's been happening. But Yah is showing that there's going to become a distinct shift, and that America is going to see an internal occupying force. And the very fact that the prophecy is called an occupying force in America, Yah is not laboring under the misconception that this nation is at war. And that's because at least God and Donald Trump are on the same page, because Donald Trump is also not laboring under any misconception that he is at war. The man has been openly saying in almost every public address since he spoke at the United Nations that he hates his enemies. He said at Charlie Kirk's funeral that he hates his enemies. He said that Mr. Kirk is better than him because he was a Christian. To all of you who are still bamboozled into thinking that Donald Trump is Christian, he said that Mr. Kirk is a Christian and he believed in loving his enemies, but I don't. I hate my enemies. I hate them. I hate him. He has said that he will go after his enemies. He has indicted Mr. Comey and indicted Letitia James simply because in a past time, in a past designation, she prosecuted him for his actual crimes. How dare a DA prosecute a person accused of crimes for their crimes? What world are we in where you have to be prosecuted for things you actually did? So now she's indicted because obviously it's a tit for tat world that we expect a presidential figure to exist in. One who tweets orders, and then you see the orders becoming real life. And then the Supreme Court really adding some Canadian maple syrup to the whole thing by granting him total immunity from anything that he does. So God knows that you can only have an occupying force when there's a war on. And the president knows that he said that there's a war on against the gangland cities where the evil Democrats dwell. And he's backed by his base, who it's a pity that they had to stop schooling at age 5. So they don't understand that America is a unified nation. In their brain, there exists Republican world and Democrat world. And then they think that the strength of America will be found when the Democrat world is annihilated and then the Republican world exists. And then there's us, the Christians, who really don't give a hoot about this rat's nest because we want to be sure that we are alive for the next phase of the things that God will do that involve end times prophecy. We know that this nation is going to be bombed to smithereens so that nobody cares about blue or red. What we care about is that life should be preserved, that blood vessels should stay inside the body so that we can walk in the promises that our God still has for us despite everything. To have an occupying force, you have to have an enemy. So the occupying force is coming from DC. And just as I told you years ago, I said that the government has the military on its side. And you don't have squat but Jesus. I told you that you can't put your faith in prepper seeds. Do you remember that? Do you remember me saying that you can see the prepper community going, we've got heirloom seeds and we've got this and we've got that and we've stacked up this and we've stacked up that. And God was saying in the prophecy that even that is confusion, because when war breaks out, you will run without the seeds. You will run without everything that you stacked up in the basement, in the shed. You will run from all of it, because when you start to hear rata, ratata, you will run. You won't be able to carry all that stuff with you. You will leave it, and the occupying force will come, and ICE will eat all that stuff. They will take over the house. Who remembers the prophecy? It's 2023. It's a 2023 financial prophecy. And I said that God showed me people making a run for the borders because a law was made here under the American regime government. And when people heard that law, they took all their gold and they ran for the borders. They didn't go to the airport. You were not going to be able to run away with gold and silver and fluffy like that. People put their belongings in the car. Remember, I said that I saw myself living in the suburbs, and my neighbors were white. They were elderly. They were about, I don't know, going past retirement age, going to 70. And at like 5 o'clock in the morning, before it's really light out, there was this feverish knocking on the door, and the person wouldn't stop. And I was just thinking, no, I'm not opening the door. No, it's so impolite to visit at this hour. But the person, my neighbor, she just kept knocking and knocking and knocking and saying, Celestial, I know you're in there. Open the door, open the door. And so I finally came to the door, and this woman jumped into my arms and hugged me and said, oh, you sweet child, it's happening exactly as you said. Dave and I are leaving, but I told him I would not leave until I told you goodbye. And so she told me, don't stay here too long. You know they'll be looking for you. And then I said she went to get in the car, and they had a trailer hooked up to the main car. And as soon as that woman put her foot in the car and put the door, her husband went down the street. And immediately they started pulling off. I said, God lifted me into the air, and I just heard a voice, Janet so-and-so, my neighbor's name, fleeing the country with gold worth. And I thought to myself, those people are multi-millionaires. And secondly, who is this voice? Am I the only one hearing the voice? Is this an announcer voice that everybody can hear? And God started showing me all the major cities of the United States. And I saw gridlock, people trying to get out of the neighborhoods. And I saw these guys, you know, the ones. He lives alone. He has a dog. He probably has 16 guns. That kind of guy that knows the back roads, because his father and his grandfather and his father's father's father all knew the back roads. They all know how to hunt. He's not attached to any woman. He has no children. I saw that guy go, the dog jumped into the cab with him, got in, and he just drove off and started taking the back roads to go to Mexico or to go to Canada. That kind of guy that knows how to get out easy, probably with some war experience, maybe. I saw those kind of people. I saw ordinary people just taking what they could. The things that people took. Title deeds to property, not that it helped them. The government commandeered all the property that was abandoned. They stole it and they gave it to everybody in government who wanted a nicer house. So that kind of house, like my neighbor and her husband, a very nice house they had, that kind of house would be the government. If you ran away in a hurry and you only took the basics, the government came into the house, and I said they took the bespoke custom cufflinks. They took everything that was not nailed down. They took the original Silverhead golf club set with the initials on them, melted those initials right off and put Jeff Bezos on them and gave them as a gift to friends of the government. And who was the friends of the government? All the corporations of the United States. Apple, I said, Amazon, and Bill Gates, Microsoft, and Ford. All the companies were funding the broke government. And after they stole everything and put themselves in power, took every single thing, they called it forfeit. And once they were stealing your stuff in order to give you no leg to stand on, because what if you came back from Mexico in a few years? There's lots of people who have run away in wars and they kept their title deeds. And then after the war was over, they went back and they go to court and they fight to get their property back. They say that my land has been illegally occupied by this family. I have the original title. You fight it out in land court, you fight it out in housing court, and you get your property back. But what this government did, right, because they are no slouches, what the United States government did was, after people ran away, everybody who ran away and left their house, double-story mansion with a pool, the government put you on a list that was called enemy of the state. And then when you became an enemy of the state, everything that you owned, they looked it up in every registry. Okay, he owns 3 homes, he owns this, he owns that. And once they knew you had left the country, they weren't even bothering to look for you. They declared everything you owned as a forfeit, because an enemy of the state, under the new laws that will come in America, is not allowed to own anything. Once you become an enemy of the state, they only want you to own your skin and wear stripy pajamas. Therefore, they would make you an enemy of the state. Remember what I said, that in the New World Order, you have to rename a thing, and then you have the legal right to destroy the thing. You have to rename it first. So you were no longer called citizen. They would call you enemy of the state, fleeing fugitive. And then once you were called those 2 things, the law said that no enemy of the state may own this, may have bank account, may have this, may have gold. So whatever it is that you left, the government legally took. They absorbed all of it into the head. And then I saw that they gave it as gifts and favors. They had huge rooms full of stolen stuff. And so if you were now a bright little snitch, a bright little snitch working hard in the new government and rising, then when you caught the eye of your superior, or you caught the eye of whoever was in the head, then they would just go into that room full of stash and get something nice, female, if you were a female, or get something nice, male, and then clean it up and then give it to you. So if there were solid sterling silver golf clubs, they would just remove the old guy's initials off it, or the business executive's initials off it, and then just monogram your initials and then give it to you like Haman. They had endless warehouses of things that they stole. They took everything from the people. In the future, you will not even be able to own anything. We will be living in dorms. They will tell us that private property is very stressful for the individual, and they want us to have nothing and be happy. You saw these things in COVID, and you used to make memes and laugh because you never thought it could happen here, but it will happen here, and Jesus keeps saying so. ICE will occupy homes and private property. They, along with other government branches, the military to be precise, will set up command posts and monitoring agency inside people's home. Commandeer. Do you know what it is to commandeer homes? It's literally what Christopher Columbus did. You come to a place that has nothing to do with you. Set your crusty toes on the edge and plant a flag, and then say, I hereby declare this place that people are already living my place. That's what Yah says ICE will do. They will take over homes and then have the lack of decency to walk to the bathroom in a bathrobe. They'll be going to the bathroom in their underwear as your wife is in the house, as your teenage daughters are in the house. What do you think could happen with 3 or 4 ICE agents living in a house where you have daughters? What do you think could happen? Would we or will we not see stories on the news? And will anything happen, or will they not just shoot the father and say that the father, Ben Williamson, was found to be a member of Tren de Aragua? Where do you see the potential happening in situations like that? In a nation that I started off this video saying that the reason this nation is the hardest nation to bring into the beast system is because everyone and their grandpa has a gun. What do you see happening when ICE tries to tell people, at least in the beginning, that they've come to set up a command post in Cody's house? And Cody is thinking, no, you've got the wrong house because my name is not Jose. And they're like, we know your name's not Jose. We still need this house because we're watching your neighbor 2 doors down, and you're close enough without being too close to give us away. We need to be here for a month. And you say no. Then he says they slap a sticker on the door. They will have some kind of official paper, just like we do in New York City when the building is condemned. Once that paper hits the door, removing the paper is a federal offense. You get some kind of horrible fine, and I think you might get jail time, depending on if the building is condemned and you try to tear it off to save your apartment building from being torn down or from being under inspection. You're not allowed to move that paper. Now ICE just comes and puts something almost like a Star of David or something, just put some paper on the door. This is a designated government, federal, and removing it is a crime. And then all of a sudden you've turned into a bed and breakfast, because what will you do now? Will you lock the fridge? You will feed ICE at your own expense. And remember, it doesn't say that private citizens will get money. It says only those who think that they'll be able to stay. It's private property. We don't serve ICE agents here. No, it says ICE will have the right to turn your place and your whole staff into a designated ICE kitchen. And you're going to cook for them all week and all month if they need it. And the government's going to give you some small amount of money to cover the cost of feeding maybe 30 or 40 agents a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They'll be able to come in, not leave a single cent on the table for tips, and be ordering 3-course meals out of your kitchen, out of your costs, out of your freezer that you stocked with your own capital. This is exactly what the Nazis did. They took over homes. They embedded themselves into the community, because in that way, there can be no revolt. You cannot revolt when you know that the SS are living in homes and you don't know which homes. You cannot mount an insurrection with the enemy living in the midst of the neighborhoods. So these are the dreams that God was giving me. ICE going beyond what is legal, far beyond, into human trafficking territory, especially when it comes to women, sexual molestation territory, and now occupying homes, exactly like they did in Nazi Germany. So just a moment as I find, please excuse me, as I find the thing that God said about the man who was now saying, where's my tax break? Why is it that every can of soda that I buy, every time I buy a train ticket, a plane ticket, any action that I take in the United States that involves money, I'm funding Jews and billionaires? Did you know that in New York City, at least, someone showed me to look on food? On food, I'm talking about every can of beans, every can of string beans, every can of corn, almost every box of cereal. At some point on this box, on this can, go and check it for yourself, you will see a U. It's a small blue capital letter U. That person told me any food stuff, it was a lady, I think she told me this at church, and she told me, go and check it, Celestial, you'll see so. She said that anytime you see that U on food, she said that this item that you buy, a section of the money goes towards the support of the Jews. She told me it's on almost every food stuff. So immediately I went to the supermarket to check, and I found that it was so, and I was shocked, because the thing is, it's not just on 1 or 2 items. It's on so many items that basically if you fill your cart, a portion of the money that you will put in the supermarket is going to remit it back to some kind of fund for Jews. And people don't know this. You're looking for the letter U. She said if you see the letter U on a foodstuff or an item, cornflakes, something like that, it means that a portion of the funds of that item goes to Jews. And now here I am having a dream about a man furious that every time he makes a shopping trip, even if he only buys a Coke, he says, he is funding Jews and also funding billionaires. I'm going to read to you what Yah said. Because this man, remember in the dream, this man is saying that there's absolutely no way that America is not going to get paid back for war. This man is dragging 2 men that, don't mind me thinking that I'm an expert. I'm not. I'm always transparent. That's what the internet is for. The internet is there to help us grow in things we may not know about. This man is dragging two men that are instrumental to the Iraq war. The fact is that the second man, who knew? Mr. Dick Cheney. When has Dick Cheney ever featured in your dreams? You go first. When did you last dream of Mr. Dick Cheney? Okay, same here. Tony Blair, perhaps he's more well known, and everyone knows that he allowed America to lead him by the nose. He was the biggest II captain in the Iraq war. But I'll have to go and we will look up Mr. Cheney's page to actually see what it says about him. But I have very low expectations, because why would Google say anything bad about him? But anyway, hear the words of the Lord. These are the words of the Lord relating to the dream about the man with the nukes on his back, the sundial of nukes, angry at how America gets involved in war, revealing names that were instrumental, he says, to the Iraq war, saying in fact that Mr. Cheney was the biggest pundit behind it. Please excuse the noise outside. I'm not going to stop. So Yah says, when I woke up out of this dream, what the Lord said to me, the same pain you caused, you will feel it. The same hurt, the same instability that you brought to other nations, you will experience it. The same brokenness and destruction of countries that you are responsible for, I will pay it to you time and times, because you have left other people empty and having nothing, and sat in your borders mocking them as losers when there was never any competition to begin with. Tell the American people the war years are coming up fast, and they will know the dread, the fear, the sorrow, the sharpness, and the instability of a war at their own gates. They will know how it feels to fear for their lives and not know tomorrow because of the way today is. They will know bombing and sheltering in place. They will know air raids and the scream of the sirens overhead. They will know restrictions, rationing, and the leveling down of the economy. Economic shutdown and stagnation that accompanies a broken government will become familiar to them. They will know everything that they have made other people to know, and they will experience no mercy shown to them for the damage of the nations that have known American warfare. And to this day, they cannot keep their feet as sovereign countries. The tree described has been cut down and become dependent, fed by aid that barely keeps them going. So this is the message that God says, that America will experience the same hurt and the same pain that she inflicted upon nations. And truly, I'm not finished with these series that I'm putting together. I just made another one, and I just have to run it through rendering so that all the clips make sense, and so that those that have very low volume, some have very low volume, the volume needs to be raised. There's a few things you need to do with these clips before you can have a coherent storyline, and I'm not going to stop until I have brought everything out. I was sharing that in September, my heart just became seized with interest in 9/11. I really don't know where it came from, but I think the Lord was moving me in that direction. And one day, a clip was just there in front of me. It was just there in front of me. Normally, I'm looking at salads and I'm looking at leg raises and things like that. And then a 9/11 clip was just in front of me. I clicked it. Another one came up. I clicked it. I watched it. And now there is just so much different information on my Instagram feed. It has completely changed, and I'm not going to try and change it back to how it used to be. And so I've been putting these things together, and I am seized in my heart with a desire for the people who have lived with only one truth in this nation, an immovable truth, for them an unshakable truth that they have continued to insist is the only truth, and they don't know the risk that they are running of being judged very harshly by God, especially after death. If you die with these sins of supporting America's evil, and you think that if I bring you the truth, for instance, and then you see the truth and all you can say is, oh, I didn't know the truth, that's not enough. You are an adult. And many of you, especially the older generation, have said some truly wicked things out of your mouth concerning the suffering that this nation unjustly, I hope you can hear me, unjustly inflicted on multiple populations around the world. To clean your conscience, you are going to have to repent. And to repent is not to say, oh God, I didn't know. They lied to me. That is not repentance. You are going to go down into the crater of your own soul, and you are going to excavate questions that make a lot of you uncomfortable. Like, why do you consider other people's lives less precious than yours? Why would you look at that magnificent display of carpet bombing in Iraq and sit your adult self there and believe when CNN told you that the casualties were minimal? How can you rain down Hades upon a city and destroy it and turn it into cement blocks and think that thousands upon millions of people did not die? Are you not a liar? You think if someone came and carpet bombed New York City like that, carpet bombed Memphis like that it were possible that only 3 ice cream vendors would die? Do you think that that is something that Jesus will believe? You know he won't believe it because it's a lie. You cannot lie to the Lord. So if you're elderly and you know that you've been believing some wicked things, saying some wicked things, part of the reason that I'm here is for you to be uncomfortable and to get used to that uncomfortable feeling. It is time you took a look at yourself, at your beliefs, why you believe what you believe, why you have these layers of tar added to your soul, and what makes you think that you are going into peace and Jesus Christ will tell you, well done, good and faithful servant, when, as he says in Matthew 6:22 and 23, if your eye is dark and you think that it is light, then how deep indeed is the darkness of your eye, of your perception of how you see this world. You will have to repent. You will have to have hard conversations with yourself in the nighttime when the cat is sleeping. You will have to take responsibility. You will have to open your mouth and do the confessions of what you are, how you are, and ask the Lord to have mercy on you and remake you. God can remake you at whatever age you are. It's not only young people that are burdened down with sins. If you are in this nation and you are part of the Nixon generation, Kennedy generation, your entire existence likely has been a lie. The only people in America who know the truth are people who have been through the military and at the higher level. If you are a low-level infantry person, they lied to you just as much. You don't know any of the reasons that you went to fight wars and kill other people. That's the reason you're back with PTSD and a load full of guilt, and you can't sleep at night. And the older you get, the worse it gets. Those movies will start playing in your head. You have to repent. If you go onto the other side where Jesus is, like I said, behind the curtain, taking full account and keeping a perfect score. If you so as to dare to cross out of this life, burdened down with the sins of Israel and the United States, and then thinking yourself an innocent bunny, well, I didn't know, Celestial, that's what they were telling us on the TV. It is not good enough. The Lord says, let the tree lie where it falls. He talks first of the tree of the people that America attacked and bombed. And he said the tree described is how they became broken down and dependent, fed by aid that barely keeps them going. And this is the so-called conscience of a people who think that you can go to Libya, right? Because that garden gnome in in Israel wanted to destroy Syria. He wanted to destroy Iran. He wanted to destroy Libya. He wanted to destroy Iraq. He wanted and he got the United States to be a willing patsy, to use this mighty army to destroy people that were doing nothing to you. That is the real truth. He knew that Israel can't fight those people on their own, but that with the might and the blitz of the U.S. military, he could render all the people that he perceived as threats neutralized. You go to a country in Africa that had universal health care. I saw this painful video of a man who received treatment for something in Libya. And when they brought him the bill, he was crying. He was weeping in Arabic or whatever they speak. And he was saying, my father, Gaddafi, where are you? He was sobbing. And the person was explaining, this man is crying because he has been presented with the bill for his hospital stay. And where's the hospital of it? He looks like he's inside some kind of busted up military tent, makeshift little dingy thing. He's laying on the gurney and a grown man is sobbing because now the cost of what he has to pay. This man had his country running. They used to give newlyweds money to set up a home. If you couldn't get a job after university, they automatically gave you a bursary until you started working. I think up to a year. The country was wealthy. He was depositing the oil money in his people's bank account. But America came with the same old garden gnome story. This is a dictator, an evil man. His people hate him. And yet Muammar Gaddafi was able to do what no American president has ever been able to do besides John F. Kennedy. Step outside and the people don't hate him. Oh, with the exception of Obama. But then that one was just a scam. He was able to go outside and the common people would mob him with hugs. And America brought once again the same lie. He's a dictator. He's dangerous. He's eating babies. He's taking the babies out of the incubators and laying them down on the floor. Nothing but Israeli lies. And you kill that man like a dog. And then the people in this country feel satisfied. Once again, they are told that they've upheld freedom, and it's never mentioned that the oil is being stolen, as usual. That the infrastructure of another people's way of life, their culture. Look today, let us talk the facts. Today, the president who accepts free airplanes has now signed a deal, right, through the Secretary of War, to accept for Qatar to build a military base in America. This thing, the hypocrisy of it just had me stunned. Americans are apoplectic with rage. Why are you mad? Don't you have up to 70 military bases around the world in other countries? What is wrong with us in this country? Why do you think the traffic only goes one way? You have punctured borders of nations that are as modern and as innovative as you. Korea, Japan, and Germany come to mind. These are modern countries. You have military bases in countries that you have no business being in, just because you are the eternal meddler. Why would you be upset that you have somebody who can receive money and then receive a foreign airbase? You know why you hate it? Because it's a hateful thing to set up a foreign military on other people's soil. That's why you're angry. That's why you feel violated. You feel like it's a security risk, right? You feel upset. You feel violated. You feel angry. Now you know why people hate you, because you've been doing this for almost 100 years. Hiding your hand of imperialism, hiding your busybody hand, and telling yourself that you were doing it for peace and doing it for stability when you're just a liar and you were doing it for greed and to have access to resources and to be a spy on China and other people. You're furious today at the idea of a Qatari military base on American soil. The internet is blowing up with outrage. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, these people have no access to magnesium tablets because their brains cannot be stable, because I do not understand the anger that they have at somebody even suggesting that they should do to us here in America what America has done since the Second World War. You have gone into other people's countries. You think that Germany wants you there? You don't know that they're sick of you in that Japanese air base that you have over there? You think those Japanese people want you there? You think the Koreans want you there? You think the Filipino people want you there? They don't want you there. You've just been conditioned to think that your presence is like perfume. People are sick of the neo-colonialist attitude. And then when somebody tells you this, because I don't look like Jeffrey Sachs, when Jeffrey Sachs says it, you can squirm. You can squirm when he says it at Davos, and you can squirm when he says it at these fancy economics conferences. You squirm, but because he's Jeffrey Sachs, he's old and he's white. And so you think about it and you nod and you say, But then when I say it, she hates America. No, I'm here on behalf of Jesus to tell you how the story ends. The story does end with hatred. You don't have to hate the narrator. I'm just telling you how it ends. It ends with you eating the same cookies that you thought everybody else loved to eat. Since you thought that they loved to eat it, you should also be happy to eat it too. Why would you want everybody else to have the goodies and not you, right? You destroyed functional economies. You used economic hitmen. You lie on people a lot. You mispaint them in the media to turn public sentiment at home and abroad against them. That is how you isolate nations. You sanction them unjustly. You have destroyed Zimbabwe long after the United Kingdom lost interest in sanctioning that country because of their beef with Robert Mugabe. You have continued the sanctions and destroyed that country until the people in that country don't even know what money looks like. You ruined them. You impoverished them. You robbed an entire generation of its right to flourish. You have to take responsibility at some point and stop whining like you're always the victim. That is why I think God chose me. From childhood, I hate a liar. I hate a person who plays victim. I've always been able to see when somebody was playing fake and crying tears so that my mom would come and be mad at me. You have to take responsibility for what you've done in this earth. And if I was the only person saying it, you could switch off your phone. Because me and what army, right? But if I speak for God, then that means that the passion in my speech is coming from somewhere. It's given to me by someone. You don't get to cop out and say, she has anti-American sentiment. No. You get to sit and reflect and make a value decision of how it ends for you at your house. Who are you? And what part of the national burden are you going to pick up and put on your shoulder and say, God, I'm going to repent for the sins of this nation, whether I knew about them or not? At least this man in the dream knows it. This man in the dream says, for sure, did you think that you were going to die in peace? He says, oh no, we're going to get it. 2 bright flashes of bombs in the sky. As the man is talking about the complicitness of ex-Prime Minister Tony Blair, saying that he's a spineless weirdo, led by the nose, a person who could never tell America no, a man responsible for heinous crimes. Because if you go back and you look at the old footage, this man appears to have been at the forefront of getting the whole of the UK and the whole of the EU on board with joining America and backing up America and allowing America to go to war. And then Dick Cheney. I even had to look up who the heck he is. Dick Cheney. Was he alive? Iraq War. Okay. Well, what do you know? What? Chat GPT. Well, it's not Chat GPT. It's just Google GPT. Listen to this. As vice president under George W. Bush, Dick Cheney was a central figure in advocating for and planning the 2003 invasion of Iraq. He was a leading voice arguing that Saddam Hussein's regime possessed weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, and that he had ties to terrorism, though both claims were later found to be unsubstantiated. Advocating for military intervention, the early push for war. After the September 11, 2001 terror attacks, Cheney and other neoconservative figures like Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld quickly argued for expanding the war on terror to include Iraq. During the run-up to the war, Cheney repeatedly and confidently asserted that Iraq had WMDs that he claimed in a 2002 August speech. Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. This assertion was a primary justification for preemptive military action. Preemptive military action means without going through the proper channels, without going to the United Nations, without doing anything, you run and you attack other people first. Cheney and other officials also highly promoted the idea of operational links between Saddam Hussein's regime and the Al-Qaeda terrorists responsible for 9/11. This connection was refuted by U.S. intelligence in classified briefings, so they knew in private that they could not establish a link between Mr. Hussein ruling Iraq and the people of the unburnable passports that they said did 9/11. They knew it in the privacy of the intelligence community after investigating that they couldn't tie the two together, but they pushed this claim publicly nonetheless. Now, I'm not sure what a neoconservative is. I'm not sure what exactly a neoconservative is. However, that doesn't change the fact that a man in a dream, let me go back to the dream. That doesn't change the fact that a man in a dream was yelling in the streets that Dick Cheney was responsible and a wicked man. Just give me a moment. Let me find my place here. There's a lot. Okay. The man with the circular star of paper nukes on his back was now saying that Dick Cheney was the one who was behind it. He's the one. He started it. He's the mastermind of it all. And if you can't see that, you're a fool like all the rest of them who sat there and let it happen. Now, who would the rest of them be? We now have one name, Donald Rumsfeld, who sounds Jewish by that name. But we can't be sure. So we can't attribute things to people until it can be verified. He's the mastermind. He and the rest of them sat there and let it happen. It's gonna be done to us, you know. You don't think so? You're a fool. He's the one who started it, and we're gonna get the comeuppance of it just like that. Out of nowhere. Because you can't follow men like this and think you're going to grow old in peace and die. Oh no, we're going to get it. It's coming. We're going to have war just like those people have war, and it's going to be big, just like we did it to them before. Have you ever seen the carpet bombing of Iraq? Have you ever seen it? It is worse than any Guy Fawkes 4th of July thing that I've ever seen. The sky looks like it's boiling. America released every bomb that they had available in the country that day. That's what it looks like. And you can't see that kind of thing happening in the sky without knowing that on the ground are people who are full of questions, full of questions. What have we done to these people? Where is my son? Where is my husband? Saddam made one last appearance to his people before that thing started. And it was just like Gaddafi. He went outside. This dictator that you've been told your whole life that was taking babies out of the incubator and putting them on the floor. The way that Israel people can lie, it's not small lies. It's lies that are distinctly meant to offend the human conscience until you literally feel that the Lord will not receive you into heaven if you remain indifferent to such a lie. The question is, why does Congress always sit and just receive these liars, these actors that come, I saw it with my own eyes, and then you find out that this wench has lied and she never goes to prison for such a lie, right? She just comes and lies a lie that has murdered millions of people, and based on unverified testimony, the U.S. Congress gives a blank check to Republicans who just love fighting war anyway to begin with. Saddam came outside. This wicked, evil dictator whom his people hated, he came outside for one last public appearance when they told him the Americans have approved their thing. They're on the way. They say America was 15 minutes out from coming to drop their napalm. That man came outside and he was spammed by his people outside his palace. They were crawling over themselves. He got out of his car and no sniper's bullet rang out towards him, the evil baby-eating incubator, child murdering dictator, according to home reports, unverified. Just like I saw in the Gaddafi clip. He's smiling. They're climbing to be with him. The oppressed people of Iraq. The suffering people of Libya. This ice dream is extremely stressful to me. But for me, the most interesting dream is this dream of the man with the Captain America nukes on his back. This dream fascinates me about God. It absolutely, because to sleep and to have a free history lesson, because this is not taught. Dick Cheney's name has never crossed my mind or my life for any reason. To sleep and to have a devolvement, a deconstruction, a breakdown from God. This is how God sees things. This is what really went down. And this is a brilliant way of informing the United States once again that you can lie to everybody except God. God keeps the score. And God is using an angry, overtaxed, frustrated American on a familiar street in your biggest city to tell you that the tree will lie where it falls. Let the tree lie where it falls simply means when you're going to get cut down, the body's going to stay there. There's going to be no burial. It literally means everybody knows when you go to the woods to cut down trees, you cut the trees down and then you drag them to the water and you chain them together and then you float them downriver to the factory, or you float them downriver to the ship, or you float them to wherever they're going next. You're going to use them for beds. You're going to use them for furniture. You're going to use them for wood chips to make paper. There's a reason you're in the forest cutting trees down. Whenever Yah says, let the tree lie where it falls, it's always coming after the judgment of a wicked pastor, after the judgment of somebody here lying on YouTube, calling themselves a prophet or something, or talking about America. It literally means that after the judgment, the body will lie there and everyone will gaze at it in order to gain from that judgment the satisfaction of the victim. Let the tree lie where it falls means that this death will be a death that in itself will satisfy. No one is coming to take this tree and then say, we're making a monument out of this tree, or we're going to use this tree. Well, the tree died, but we're still going to find something useful out of it. Absolutely not. Let the tree lie where it falls means that the death itself is the purpose it serves. The death itself is the peace to the victim. The destruction itself is the payback to Iran for not being allowed to develop. It's the payback to the Cubans for being destroyed and invaded and sanctioned. It's the payback to the Zimbabweans. It's the payback to all the people in the Middle East. It's the payback to Germany for all that harsh punishment in World War II for nothing. You lied for all these decades, but the tree will lie where it falls. You will be the people of no nation, because the nation, which is your God, will be the tree that lies where it falls. And everyone will get to see it, and therein is Yah's peace to all the people who have cried and died, including the ones who are not able to see, including all the children of the firefighters who died as collateral damage in 9/11. I see them. They play the tapes of their fathers, and all they can say is, at least we have a small piece of him left. America did that. You don't just take somebody's dad away because you're wicked and you like to lie. And no one can claim that they're innocent. God is not going to allow that. You are going to repent. You are going to look yourself in the eyes. You're going to find the thread of your own involvement. So, the prophecy is called The Wolves Are Here, an occupying force in America. The date is October the 11th, 2025. I've given you everything that God has given me, that war is coming. And I think this would be a good place to add, since it wasn't very long. I shared recently that I went to the Lord because I was having prayers for myself. I was praying for myself, and I was just spending time with God, and I wanted to really get his attention on something. And so I thought that I would approach it by pointing out that the year is almost over. And I said, Lord, this is the year that the wheels fall off, right? You said that this is the year that the wheels fall off. This is 2025. And I was reminding the Lord of all the miraculous fulfillments of everything that I prophesied from 2023. And then I prophesied in January in detail. All you have to do is go back to January 2025 and listen to the 3 very long prophecies. But trust me, the time flies so fast on those messages. I just don't know how God does time with these things. 3 prophecies called 2025, the year that the wheels fall off. And the full name is 2025, the year that the wheels fall off. The descent into madness. And look at America. I mean, look at America. We have Gestapo in the streets. Okay? They're stopping people on the long distance buses and they're asking them for birth certificates and papers. When have you ever gone from North Carolina to South Carolina on a Greyhound and carried your birth certificate? What is this? Where exactly are we? They're stopping people. They're checking people. I saw today, I'm not sure if it's Chicago or if it's in Tennessee, but I saw today that ICE raided an Uber facility, right? A ride share place at one of the airports. I think it might be the Chicago airport. They raided it twice or three times in one day. It was either yesterday or it happened today. They just kept coming in unmarked cars and vans, waiting until the rideshare place would fill up because the drivers know when flights are coming in, and then would just swoop and just grab all those people. Just like they grabbed the people in the factories, just like they grabbed the people working and bagging groceries at the Walmart. And then the two brain cell people will come to my channel and tell me, oh no, but the nation is overrun with cartels. That's why the strawberries are rotting on the vine, because we all know that the first thing a cartel member does when he comes to America is disguise himself as a strawberry picker so that you can have strawberries in Montana. That's the vibe and the move with Tren de Aragua. They're taking the Uber drivers. They're going to the factories. They're going to the daycares. They're waiting for people outside medical appointments and getting into the courtroom as people are trying to show up for their asylum cases. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. This is a fact. Every time you press the algorithm and say you love it, it will love you back. So this is the kind of time that we're in. So I was pointing out all these things to the Lord, and I was telling him, Father, in only 9 months, because it's just the beginning of October, I said, Lord, in only 9 months, America is unrecognizable, but I'm still standing in faith. I still have faith. 9 months in doesn't mean that the year is ended. I put this thing before you at the beginning of the year, and I can see some progress, God, but I'm not seeing the kind of progress. And I know that I have faith for this. I said, in the year that the wheels fall off, Lord, what will you do for me, your servant? And the Lord says to me, Celestial, I don't want you to forget that next year is the year of war. And I'm telling you, my hopes, if they had just been on the edge of the table, they just went plunging down, and just the way, you know, when you drop a spoon, the way it's so noisy down there before it finally comes to a stop, that was kind of what happened to my hopes. This is not the answer that you're looking for when you're trying to see, will the Lord arise and actually part the Jordan? Will he part the Red Sea for you with 3 months on the clock? And instead of answering along that line, he chooses to remind you that I'm so glad, I'm so happy that you are aware of how well my prophecies fulfilled in 2025, my child. I'm so glad that you're being a wise steward and you're keeping your eyes on the descent into madness, because I want to remind you that next year, the prophecy that I lined up for next year is a war year. And he said, and I want you to be aware that I mean real war. There's no need for me to do a separate video for that. This one is fitting. I didn't know what to say. I just thought that you should know that when I brought up that this year has nailed it in terms of being a year that the wheels have fallen off for America, stuck her in every single conceivable corner, Yah reminded me that the theme for 2026 and 2027 is the war years of America. And he started talking to me, might as well hear it, about power cuts. He started talking to me about not enough food, disruptions in food supplies, not being able to get the food that you want. which is basically just, it's either called shortages when you want a certain good, you want a certain amenity and you can't get it. And it's also called rationing, where what you want is there, but then you can't get as many as you want, which means you might need to look into storing now, right? Because that is what Joseph did. Joseph knew when the famine years were coming. They were coming after you count 7 from where they were. You count 7. And then when that 7 ended, the next 7 were the starvation years. So when Joseph knew that, then he used the 7 to store, because then he knew in the following ones. And I fully understand what God was telling me. The first thing that I picked up is that God was telling me, don't you dare misjudge or underrepresent that when I said war years, I wasn't talking about having a squabble with Iran. Did you see how close we came to exchange of firepower? Because a lot of Americans misgauged what happened when the president went and took action against Iran, when he went and carried himself, right, into the middle of what was going on between Israel and Iran. A lot of people actually thought that Iran isn't able to respond. Iran is able to respond. Iran is able to respond. What Iran doesn't yet have is the absolute 100% ironclad assurances from 2 people that if she responds, she will not be alone. That's the reason Iran won't respond. Not that Iran can't respond. Iran can hurt America as much as America thinks that it can hurt Iran. But because America is who she is, as big as she is, Iran is that person who doesn't want to get into a fist fight with the rich kid, because the rich kid has a tendency to pull its NATO friends along, because it loves to start fights and then group drag everybody else to say, yeah, we're all going to gang up on you. And the thing is, because Iran constantly manages to hold their ground, Iran is an area of interest to both Russia and China. The day that Russia and China give Iran assurances, and don't think it will happen on the news. I already told you that Yah has shown me that it's all private conversation. It's not even text message by BlackBerry. It's private conversations. The day that country gets a private assurance from the red dragon and the bear that if America ever feels froggy on you, jump, then it's going to be a different story for us here. And you have those prophecies from March of 2022. It's called the Changing World Order, where God said that China will tell America any time you want to go. That prophecy is already fulfilled because the guy from China already said it. We're ready for a trade war. We're ready for a technology war. We're ready for a war. He made sure to put that in there. He said anything that America feels ready for, China's ready to. I think his name is Victor Yang or Victory Yang. He already said it now in 2025. But I said in 2022 that China will tell America anytime you feel bubblicious, do it, and we will do it back to you. Conflicts with Iran, I said it in March of 2022, and I also said it in 2021. Conflicts with China, I said America getting into multiple spats with everybody, unaware that spiritually her hour is changing, unaware that spiritually she has become Samson and that the hair is already going off the head, but she thinks she will keep doing the same things. This is what the Lord said to me as I was trying to get a finish strong for me, Jesus, in 2025. The Lord said, don't forget what 2026 is. America's year of war. And I'm not talking metaphorically. I'm just going to have to take that as expect live exercises in 2026. And one of the closest live exercises that we can expect is live exercises on us, the people inside this country, because that's one war. That's already been openly declared from the seat of power. Openly. The only thing that makes people think that it's not open is because, do you remember in the prophecy that is called the spreading, escalating war of the United States? There's a whole chunk in that of a specific type of people that are alive and well now in the United States today. Those people are the people who the president will say, I'm going to burn Philadelphia down to the ground. The people in Philly will hear it and react accordingly. The people in Philly will hear it, and the mayor and the governor will go on record as saying, don't burn us down. We don't need to be burnt down. We're people in Philly. We do not want to be burnt down. The rest of the country will hear it and say, that sounds pretty dangerous. And then some people will say, it's a gang and crime-ridden city. It needs to be burnt down. Because, of course, that's what they learned in school. That when infrastructure or maybe government is failing in an area, the best way to solve for X is to just burn it down with the people and everything else in there. Because that's what we do with eyesores now as neo-Nazis. We burn things down with people living there. So then there's that stunted crowd. But then there's this type of person in the country who will say, let's just calm down. He's known for rhetoric. Let's just calm down. It's those people that God was pointing out in the war and saying that when we see the rise of those people, we should tell them to shut up. Those are the people when the president is on a 50, they want to come out on their podcast and say, he's hyperbolic. He doesn't really mean it. And they're on the liberal and the Republican side. Yah says that this type of person in the war, the actual bullets flying, the Texas forces are advancing towards Miami. In that time, these people will enter conversations when everyone else is, where's my passport and where is this? They will say, let's all calm down. Let's calm down. We don't know for sure. God said that when you see those people arise, you should tell them to shut up, because those are the types of people who get other people killed. They're born to always try and act superior, to act as if the mere exercise of their overheated brains will prevail over a real situation of danger that is brewing. That's a lot of husbands in California right now. Their families want to flee, their wives want to flee, and like, no, you can't believe the woman on the internet with the bed sheet. As the scientists keep publishing documentaries saying that without a question, there is going to be a horrifying and shattering earthquake in California. But big man, he thinks he's got it. He's got it. He's got it. So, yeah, that's why the family can't move. If anyone next to you starts underreacting, when we get into next year and you start to see signs brewing that are strongly telling you that maybe Ghana isn't so bad after all, or wherever it is that the Holy Spirit tells you to go, please don't think that I'm recommending to you where to go. I am not. And then one of these demonic voices, because that's what's actually prompting them. Pride is also a spirit. One of these demonic voices pipes up. Let's not be too hasty. Tell that person, as a way of killing all conversation, tell that person there's no let's. There's no let's here. Tell them that there's no affiliation here. Nobody's asking you here. You do what's right for you. You say you don't be too hasty. Don't do let's. We're not a group. Let the Spirit of the Lord lead you. Because that's what he was saying to me. He spoke about it like this word here. Shrinkage, thank you. A forced shrinkage of the economy. And also, we might have to look out for pop-up taxes. That's what he was saying, because I was saying that war is expensive and America has no other reserves. So it's either they will print more money and make the money that we already have even more useless, or what they will do is They will come up with some kind of emergency measures and tell you that you can see that these are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. And ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And we might have to take up a one-time offering. And this time that offering isn't going to Israel. It will be going to the United States government to help it keep its feet. So you might have to look up for pop-up costs. You might have to look up for sometimes like one-time extra fee on the taxes or something, as they try to raise money for the fact that they're definitely going to be fighting people. I just don't know who, but we already have the shadow of a very real war at home on our hands. So you might want to look into who the brown shirts were in Germany. You might want to look into that. I've done the will of the Lord. I've brought the word. I've given you all the things that the Father has shown me, and I will be back with another video when I can. God bless you, and until I see you again, goodbye.